Let's take our seats, please. What are we doing right here? It's emergency item. Okay, welcome to this evening's meeting and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. I appreciate you coming out, especially on a cold night. We're going to have our invocation this evening from Reverend Ralph Thomas of Travelers Rest Baptist Church in Morrow, be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me.
Let us bow our heads. Most gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee in the name of Your Son, Jesus the Christ. We thank You, Lord, for this day. We thank You for this hour. We thank You for this meeting. Thank You for these, our commissioners. We thank You, O God, for You being God. We thank You, Lord, for life, health, and strength. We thank You, God, for watching over us all night long as we slumbered and slept. Then early bright soon this morning, You woke us up with a finger of love. Thank You, Lord, for being God. Thank You for our lives as we travel this journey day by day. Look down upon us, O God. Keep us in Your care. Guide us and direct us, God, in the way that You see we need to go. Lord, we pray, God, that You will continue now to look upon this board, God. We pray, God, that You will continue to bless them, God. Keep them, God. Lead them and guide them and direct them in every direction that You would have them to go. In every decision, God, that they make. We pray, Lord, that You would continue to guide them, oh God, that this community and this county will continue to be the best county in the state of Georgia. We thank You now for everything that You are doing, everything that You have done, and everything that we know, God, You will do by using us as Your people. Thank You, God, for everything right now. This is our servant's prayer, that we ask it, we claim it, we believe it, and receive it in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord, we pray. Let every heart say amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners' December 17th, 2019, and last regularly scheduled business meeting for the year of 2019. Our first order of business is adoption of the agenda. Do any members have any amendments?
Yes, Madam Clerk. I need to pull item number 6, the recommendation for award RFP 1917, opening day collection for the Clayton County Library System. They still are working on the exact numbers for the cost of that. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next item I would like to pull is item 25, or to delete. It's really a duplicate. 25, which is Resolution 2019-158, authorizing Clayton County to apply for and accept grant funds for the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for Veterans Treatment. That's actually a duplicate of item 26, of course, with the different numbers, but the correct information is contained within item 26, so we need to remove item 25. Is there a second on my motion?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Last one for me is to add as an emergency item, Resolution 20-19-159, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an amended agreement with the Georgia Bureau of investigation, providing for the terms for medical examiners' services. Our contract with them is up basically, and we need to extend the contract for another 30 days so we can have medical examiners' services until we can negotiate a new contract. Is there a second on this motion?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You didn't take any questions in between?
Would you
Sir?
like, you have a
Yes,
question?
sir.
Yes.
When did we find out that we needed to have this item put on the agenda? At what time? Today, yesterday?
No, it was after the deadline for the agenda, which was Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so I respectfully ask, at least, at minimum, regardless of it being an emergency item, at least send us the information via email. It is, I don't think that it is in the best practice to continually forward us something the day that we sit up on the dais and give us a copy of something that we're gonna vote on. So yes, the need is great and it needs to be done. However, it is our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that what we vote on, we understand what we're voting on and we've read it. And so right now, many of us will be voting on something that we've not read unless they're gonna read
Well, their
4
agreement,
pages in a short period of
their agreement
time.
is the same as always have been, the contract itself. So you can chalk that one up to me, but at the same time, it's something, like you said, is of vital importance that we need to get it done, but duly noted your request for information as soon as possible. Any other questions? All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? 4-1, it passes. That was my last one.
I would like to take item number 22 separately, please. Vote on it separately.
All right, there's a motion to take separate resolution 2019-155 to rescind a special facility use request at the South Clayton Recreation Center. Is there a second?
Oh, I second.
Properly moved and second.
Who was the second?
Commissioner Warner. Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others?
Mr. Chair, we also need to remove number 17.
Who made that request?
At the agenda, the department wanted to remove it because it wasn't ready for consideration yet. The agenda
Okay,
meeting.
I'll make the motion to remove item 17, State Superior Court Law Clerk Attorney Pay Structure. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moving second. Any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others? Any others?
Mr. Chair, the item number 15, the dollar amount.
Correct. Thank you. Item 15, Solicitor General's request for additional position, executive assistant. The only change there would be the budgetary impact of the request is not 59, it's $9,390 will be the impact on it. Is there a second?
I second.
Probably moved and second by Commissioner Gregory. Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others? Good. All right, there being no others, take a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next, we will have presentations. The first one is Aerotropolis CID update on the signage and wayfinding project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do we have the presentation loaded? We have a brief presentation for you this evening. We have been working on the signage and wayfinding program now going on 2 years. and we are hopefully ready to move forward. As you know, this project includes working with all our cities, and as well as Clayton County. Those cities being Forest Park, Hateville, College Park, East Point, and City of South Fulton. And so we have our consultant with us here this evening who's going to walk you through a very brief presentation. But if you would please, before we go through this presentation, please allow me to introduce to you our new program director for the Aerotropolis CIDs, Ms. Crystal Harris. She just started with us about a month ago. And you will be seeing a lot of her in the year to come. But please allow Kimberly Horn, our consultant, to come and walk you through this brief presentation, and then I'll come back at the end and talk to you about our next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners, for the opportunity to come before you this evening and present our progress on the Aerotropolis signage and wayfinding plan. You may remember that it was the summer of 2018 when we first came before you to talk about this plan. I guess I'll go forward with this. The project was born from the first Aerotropolis master plan in 2017. In this plan, district signage and branding was identified as a high priority for the area, with the goals being to enhance branding and perceptions in the area and foster economic development within the CID. To accomplish these goals, the CID initiated the development of the signage and wayfinding plan to simplify the ability to navigate within and access to the district. Throughout this process, the greatest challenge that we have encountered has been striking the right balance between branding for the district and branding for the individual jurisdictions involved. When we came to you last year, we brought you an initial signage concept to consider, and based on the responses from those and the feedback and input that we received from all of the individual jurisdictions, we've continued to revise and refine these concepts. We have returned to you this evening to give an update on our progress, and our goal is to complete refinement in early 2020 so that we can move into implementation and construction this next year. So, as we've moved through this process, there are a couple of common questions that have really resonated and come up among all of the jurisdictions. First and foremost of these is the inclusion of the city name on the regional signs, and then together with that, the inclusion of the Aerotropolis name on some of the smaller district signs. Additionally, we were asked by all the jurisdictions to reduce the number of signs and to really focus our efforts on major interchanges and multi-jurisdictional corridors to help streamline the plan. And then finally, we were asked to elaborate on funding arrangements for implementation of this plan. So you can see here the refined concept. This is the current concept for the vertical monument signs that would be located at the larger interchanges, 3 of which are planned for Clayton County. So the Aerotropolis District has identified on the vertical monument the name of the Aerotropolis, with Clayton County, as all the jurisdictions would be, identified down at the bottom of the sign. We looked at a number of alternatives while we were developing these signs, including flipping the name to have Aerotropolis on the bottom or in different locations. But what we really found was that it did not give us the clarity and consistency that we were looking for when Aerotropolis was not on the top due to jurisdictions having different names, and it would change the font sizes, and all of the signs kind of looked a little different. So you'll see here an option for a horizontal sign in locations where there would be constraints and an inability to put a large monument. However, we don't anticipate any of these being in Clayton County. And then here you can see some of the district and local signs. We're still refining these. So you can see it's been identified, some with either Aerotropolis or the name of the individual jurisdiction at the bottom of the district signage. These are really intended for some of the major multi-jurisdictional corridors that are located throughout the CID. And then here we have our 5-year implementation plan, and outlined in red, signage that would be within Clayton County. We have three signs that are identified as our large regional signage. So at Phoenix Boulevard, Riverdale Road, and I-285, and then more signage at I-75 and Forest Parkway. Additionally, we have 2 district signs that we've identified for I-285 at South Loop Road and Lake Mirror Road. And then we also have some information on the funding process for these 5 signs, but I'll hand it off to Gerald to address that.
And before I get into that, I just want to state briefly that our overall objective was to show how we have come together under this Aerotropolis umbrella to work as one to promote South Metro, and also to show the connections between one jurisdiction and the next. That's why it was so very important on each one of these signs that it not only had Aerotropolis, but it also showed that if the sign was, for example, in Forest Park, that it showed that was part of Clayton County, and we're doing the same thing on the Fulton County side as well with our various cities. But the overall objective was to show that we're all working together and to create this uniform of signage that will allow those who are visiting South Metro to see a unique brand as they move from one corridor to the next. In terms of the funding, this presentation has gone before both CID boards, and the CID boards have approved this program. This is roughly a $3 million program, and the 2 boards have voted to provide 2/3 of that funding to this program. And so for the remaining third, that would be divided among all our partners. Again, those partners, in addition to yourselves, would be Forest Park, Hateville, East Point, College Park, the city of South Fulton, and also I left out earlier, the Aerotropolis Alliance will be contributing and to cover that additional third. We have 2 more presentations. We've gone to a couple of our cities, and we have 2 more presentations in January. When we complete those presentations, we would like to hold a joint meeting of the mayors and city manager, or in this case, the chair and county manager, to have a joint meeting where we would come together. We will look at the total cost for each sign, and then we would have a conversation and a discussion of how the partners will cover the additional third of that cost, or if there is another desired scenario of how the $3 million program will be paid for. Earlier, it was indicated that this is a 5-year program. That 5 years was based on the CIDs providing that 2/3. We don't have all the funds in our budget to do that in 1 year. So for cash flow purposes, we would need to make a contribution over the period of 5 years. At this joint meeting, if there's a desire to accelerate the signage in your jurisdiction, then that's a discussion that we could have about perhaps how the CID could reimburse you down the road if you would like to have your signage erected and installed earlier. But that's a conversation that we'll have hopefully in the month of February, definitely sometime in the first quarter. We will send out a notice and have a joint meeting to have that conversation. And then we'll come back to you. There's no action required tonight. This was simply an update. But we'll come back to you after that joint meeting, and we'll present to you the final designs for the program, as well as the funding plan for the program. And then we would ask for your action upon that when we return. Are there any questions for us this evening?
Any questions for Mr. McDowell?
I don't have a question, but I did want to say thank you. Thank you all for the informational luncheon on last week.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. 'Cause
Absolutely.
It gave us a lot of the things that you all are doing and plan to do. So thank you very much. And tell you what CEO?
That's
And
correct.
Right. Great presentation.
Yeah, I will pass it on to him. And I would like to say to you this evening, you have a lot going on in Clayton County, and we appreciate you putting us number one, because you have a lot to cover tonight. So I commend you all on the great work that you're doing. You are providing great leadership. And we wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as
Merry
well.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Our next item is the Clayton County Emergency Operations Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's my pleasure to come before you tonight and bring a couple of changes that we are making to the county's emergency operations plan at the request of the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. We last updated the county's EOP in March of 2018. We did a full update with some new annex amendments at that time. We came back in January of 19 and added a mass communications annex to the EOP. And we are back now at the end of the year to make just some formatting changes to the plan that were required, as I said, by the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. Just for everybody's knowledge, the Clayton County Emergency Operations Plan is a living document that consists of a 500-page base plan with 15 emergency support function annexes, 6 incident annexes, 9 support annexes, and then the continuity of government operations plan. Initially, all of these plans resided in one massive document that totaled about 1,300 pages. That's now been broken down into a base plan, which GEMA now requires, and then everything else has been moved to an annex. In addition to that, some things that were brochures and attachments have now been included in the base plan. So what I want to do for you is just run through a quick list of the formatting changes we've made to the plan, both to the public version that's available and then to the private version of our emergency operations plan. So the public version revisions that we made is the entire base plan was formatted to match GEMA's base plan. So now every local emergency operations plan matches the formatting of the state operations plan. This is just for ease of continuity. So as we get into major disasters that require us to bring in state resources and then ultimately federal resources, everybody's plans are aligned, the sections line up. This makes documentation much easier. While we were going through this process, we went ahead and took the liberty, and thanks to my deputy director of EMA and my operations officer, we updated all of the agency contact information to include local elected officials, new department heads, new employees, new subordinate staff. So in the event now that we're getting into winter weather season, we have the latest and greatest contact information for all of our partners. We removed the outdated statewide mutual aid assistance agreement. The one that was attached to the plan had expired. There will be a new one forthcoming either in January or February, and we will replace it at that time. Support Annex E, which is our damage assessment plan, we updated to reflect the County Fire Marshal's Office as the lead agency for that. For reasons of Homeland Security, the hazardous materials locations have been removed from the base plan, and they're now stored in the electronic plan, which is available to first responders. So they will have access to that information. We removed Annex C, which was originally entitled Worker and Safety and Health, as this was a duplicate of another annex, so that information appeared twice, so we just removed it. Some of the things that were previously policy brochures that the federal government now wants in our plan is the disaster match policy, FEMA's agency's community status book report, which outlines which communities participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. Clayton County is one of those organizations that participates that. And then inclusion of the federal, state, local disaster match policy tracking sheet. As you remember, Irma was a federally declared disaster that affected Clayton County. A lot of agencies in Georgia got federal reimbursement from that, Clayton County being one of those. So as a result of more federally declared disasters, they've now asked that these policies be included in the base plans for the counties. So we are complying with that. The private version revisions that we made is we removed the UASI Regional Mass Care Plan. In its entirety, that was a 1,000-page annex by itself, and it no longer represents our current operational paradigm. It's being revised at that level. We removed the training and exercise multi-year plan from the continuity of government plan, as all of the training and exercises that we had listed in there had been completed, and that plan has expired, so it's been pulled out of the private. We removed Support Annex D, which is public information, as that was replaced by the mass communication annex that we added in January. We included the EOC activation plan, which we revamped as a part of the mass communication plan with the Office of the COO. And then we revised the county's continuity of government operations plan with new contact information, just as we did the base plan. So a lot of these changes, 99% of them, are formatting changes that GEMA asked us to make to bring our plan up to date with the rest of the state. The rest of it was administrative changes we needed to make to reflect new staff and people that are in new positions, so we make sure we're contacting the appropriate people in times of disaster. So with that, I'll certainly entertain any questions you have, but I would ask that you accept these changes to the county's EOP.
Chief, which the COO you mentioned, COO of which organization?
Chief Operations Officer of the county.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have public comments. The board will now hear public comments. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and county of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make any disparagatory remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Okay, as a note, those of you who have signed up, this public comments for all matters not related to the public hearing that we will have on the zoning matters. So if you signed up and you want to speak to one of the zoning matters, then you can wait at that time, but you can feel free to come up now. But the time to speak on zoning matters will be when we have our public hearing for the zoning issues. First one up is Mr. Farmer, Alvin Farmer.
Mr. Farmer, proactive community activist, unincorporated Clayton County. I came to you a while back and asked you not to approve any more houses or apartments in Clayton County because our schools are getting overrun. I got a call and I went and did my research myself. A lot of classrooms in this county are overrun with students due to the approval of those two things that you gave. The governor's office has rated Clayton County schools as a D. WSB TV has rated Clayton County in the metro Atlanta the lowest in that because y'all have approved these houses and apartments and kids are coming in and they have to go to school somewhere. Y'all contributing to them grades. The second thing is I came to you before with the #1 person in Clayton County employee that was disrespectful. I ran across #2 today, Mrs. Sally Smith. I took a ride from Griswold to the North Point Mall. She was in charge of this event. Her nor the bus driver really know how to get there. And I tried to give them assistance. She said, let us handle this, and I did that. She needs training, retraining, or whatever needed, but she's not, in my evaluation, professional in her job. I got a letter saying 22 October that they're gonna look at that bus stop at Griswold Center, and it would take 4 weeks. I went there yesterday because I was gone all day today. That bus stop is still there. I informed you I almost got hit by a Cadillac SUV. I seen one time 4 or 5 buses coming out there. You must have had a swim meet there. Still, this problem exists, and seems like the powers and authority that be, and I'm gonna keep on going to somebody until it's removed. I gave you a copy of that letter at that Veterans Day about the Riverdale having a recycling day and everything like that. I've been living in unincorporated Clayton County for going on 23 years now. I've been in and out this state, in and out this country, but not once have I heard that in unincorporated Clayton County that we had a recycling day. And we still got trash in our area and everything. Mr. Man was right. I'm still picking up Halloween paper out of my neighborhood. I sent this to a whole lot of people. Commissioner Warner, you should have got that this TMR CUS are giving away 500,000 children books. Those people over there got a copy. Everybody I could think of on my email list got a copy. On a positive note, I've had some issues in my subdivision. Chief Roberts and his people, Chief Roberts' people came there and they're doing an outstanding job on that. And I thank him and his people because we're trying to clean up our subdivision, then we work on cleaning up Clayton County. And I thank them personally for that. And let your people know, Chief Roberts, that they can look at this meeting and see that.
Your time's up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Jones.
afternoon. My name is Linda Jones. I live in unincorporated Ellenwood and also in State Senate District 44. Our community is comprised of residents who have different shapes, sizes, and ways of doing things. But vote for qualified people to represent them, the ones from a large group of candidates. You're the voice of the people who went to the polls and voted for you. I believe in the democratic process and hope that the chosen ones will represent the masses upholding the oath of office that they accepted during their inaugurations. However, sometimes it appears that elected officials get distracted when their listening and responses become clouded by non-voting personnel from elsewhere, maybe contractors or business owners, who do not have the well-being of residents at heart. When communities are overwhelmed with toxic truck fumes, warehouses, parking sites for any and all trucks, and gasoline stations within a small 2-mile radius, they suffer. In addition, businesses along Anvil Block Road constantly have trash all over the parking areas and streets. These concerns have been brought to the Clayton County Board of Commissioners many times, and recently 3 robberies were committed there in the last 60 days. Drivers of huge 18-wheeler trucks, about 80,000 pounds each, park along the streets in District 1 whenever they choose. The federal government gives them requirements for rest breaks. These drivers know how to close areas, how close the areas are, and when it's time for their rest breaks, but choose certain locations all the time to illegally park. Keep moving, that's what we say, and stop destroying our backyards. These drivers break the law and park on Georgia State merging lanes at Interstate 675 exit 7, destroying large do not park signs by knocking them down. At least 10 signs that were placed there by the Georgia Department of Transportation. When I mentioned this to a previous law enforcement commander in this district, I was told to call the State Department. The infrastructures in District 1 are being severely weakened, but I guess if you don't live there, you may not care. We know that significant taxes can be gained from other reliable businesses. Residents want a restaurant, a theater, a library, entertainment center, and we want to work as an alliance with the local and state representatives to accomplish these goals. So as you continue this 2019 holiday season, please remember the people that voted you into office and begin the new year with a positive resolve for all involved. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. And Ms. Jones, let me just say, reference to the parking on the side of the ramp. Police department has been starting to issue citations. So they're on it and they're doing a good job. So
glad to hear that.
appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
You say Ellenwood, you're in DeKalb or Clayton County?
I live in Clayton, DeKalb County.
No, it's got to be one or
Gotta
the
be one
other.
or the other.
My community begins in Clayton County. That's my community. Grant Forest subdivision begins in Clayton
I
County.
know a little part of Grant Forest is in Clayton County. Do you live in that Clayton County area? In the Clayton County portion? Clayton County portion of Grant Forest?
Well, right there at the, between the two, that mix, right?
You live in DeKalb.
My community starts.
You're in DeKalb.
So
Okay,
I
so-
represent Clayton and DeKalb.
Thank you, ma'am.
And that's what that reason you say.
Thank you, ma'am. Donald Melvin.
Good afternoon. My name is Donald Melvin. I'd like to say Merry Christmas to the board, all that are here tonight. Also want to thank the board for the work that they have done for the Clayton County Library and was able to get the general contractor a check. And that took place last Thursday. So I'm hoping that when I meet them tomorrow, by the end of this week, that they can get me a check. Now, if they don't get me a check, I will certainly be back. Now, I want to thank Mr. Stafford. I thank the commissioner here. And I want to thank you, Chairman Turner, and the entire board. People think y'all don't do a good job, but they don't know what the job is unless they're sitting in your seat or walking in your shoes. I seen one of the commissioners out on the job, doing her job, and I was very impressed. But I'm here to say this. Someone come out and took a picture of the library, And in that picture, I was looking at it on the screen, I did not see the dirt that I got piled up out there that I can't understand why all this dirt keep coming from. So I'm just saying to you, I'm gonna try to get the dirt moved into a pile. And then we got to try to see can we work out something for a change on it. Because right now I have to hold on to my own hat to keep somebody stealing because you know why? I ain't got no money. I need to get paid. And I hope and pray that this will work for me. So over the Christmas holidays, y'all have a great holiday. And after the holidays, the first Tuesday after that, when I come back, I pray that things will be working good for me. So y'all have a good one.
You too. Thank you, sir. Ralph McKellen.
I think I signed the wrong sheet. I asked him about
Yes,
that
sir.
afterwards. I was here to speak out against the car wash going in.
Yes, sir. If you just wait till the public hearing. Mickey Garber.
Mickey Garber, unincorporated, Rex, Georgia. The topic of my conversation this evening is vision. Worse than blindness, and I will repeat, worse than blindness is having sight with no vision. My love of God is only equal to my love of my fellow man. My love of God and my love of fellow man is only equal to my love of our land known as Clayton County, which has sustained us and our multitudes as we enter the year and decade of 2020. As we enter the decade of 2020, are we going to be a county having a 2020 vision of foresight, or are we going to be a county to have a 2020 vision of hindsight? Our county has many challenges, and our attitude toward those challenges is that we turn those challenges into opportunity. This ends my comment. However, I'll use the remainder of my time to use citizen discretion for you to ask me any questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Seeing there are none, thank you very much. And may you all have a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year.
You as well.
Jeffrey Edwards. Jeffrey Edwards. Zoning. Okay. Timothy Vondell Jefferson.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Happy holidays to you all. I am coming before you with some more concerns, but I would like to acknowledge Tara Museum, Road to Tara, and the job that Mrs. Partridge has done over there. I've been in the county 18 years. I took a tour of the facility about 16 years ago. She has done a marvelous job in the presentation that they have. So that is one of the unique branding opportunities we have in the county. Now, I am a little concerned about duplication of services. Altropolis just came before you in a signage issue and indirect branding. So we have Altropolis, we have the Development Authority, who just spent a tremendous amount of money on a comprehensive plan for Mountain View and the Old Dixie overlay. And now we entered into a contract with Great Southern Publishers to do our branding to Brandon County and to re-establish us within the region. My concern is, again, duplication of service and implementation. As I read the RFP through the open records request, I didn't see a final product that the leaders of this community can take and implement. So it appears that we are spending another $122,000. And in my due diligence of vetting this company, I have not seen any results that have been favorable to any branding they have done. Ms. Linda Mosley, who is based out of Savannah, Georgia, doesn't have a relationship within the region to understand our unique internal issues that we need to focus on. So I think that this branding contract needs to be revisited and possibly collaborate with Aerotropolis, the Development Authority, the Chamber of Commerce, and come up with a viable plans with the skill set that we have in place. Because as Mr. McDowell said, that we are on the hook for part of that $1 million on the branding with Aerotropolis and the signage. So I think that it'd be reasonable for us to be good stewards of the citizens' money that we revisit at RFP. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Robert Wimberly.
Reserve my time for the zoning matter.
Yes, sir. Madam Clerk, that concludes public comment.
Our next item are items on the consent agenda.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next item is item number 22, Resolution 2019-155, resolution to rescind a special facility use request to allow the use of meeting space at the South Clayton Recreation Center for members of the Zeta Mu Nu chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
All right, is there a motion on this?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-2, it passes.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner?
I just have a statement to make.
Who
We-
were the two? I heard Commissioner
Hamburg and Gregory.
Hamburg and Gregory. Thank you.
Was opposed.
Let me say this, I was not going to pull this from the agenda, but there are several concerns for me. I have in my possession a letter that I received on behalf to Mr. Dietrich Stanford that I had to ask for from the attorney, asking who requested this. And in that letter, it references Commissioner Gregory, but it references also Commissioner Warner Stevens. Still trying to figure out who Warner Stevens is. But I also want us to keep in mind that it is our job to provide equitable services to all of the community. We have 1,200 nonprofits in this community. 25% of them provide direct services, hands-on services to our community. And we currently offer free space at the police department, where I believe there may be some members that are over in that particular area. And so for me, there are two things. It concerns me that we did not do this from an equitable lens. I let this get past me as a commissioner because it was proposed in a district. But of most concern to me, somebody misrepresented me, and that's a problem. It is a problem when an elected official is being misrepresented. It's a problem when I see a document that didn't cause for anybody to call and confirm that this was done by my office or by me. So I do want to put that on record. I wasn't going to pull it from it, but we got to figure that out. Thank you.
I have a question, just to put out
Commissioner
there.
Hambrick.
Do we have to approve everything that goes on in our district as far as the facilities are concerned? Whether it be the recreation centers or the senior centers or whatever, parks and all?
What do you mean, do we have to approve it? Or as far as for it to be placed
I
on the
understand
agenda?
what you're asking.
Are you
No,
saying
I
that
know that I don't have to have it approved as an individual commissioner, but let me say this, though. It was put on the agenda, and when I asked about it, and I honestly had a conversation with Chairman, it was stated to me that a lot of folks thought that I put it on there. We shouldn't do that. The other thing is, we have to look at it from an equitable lens. We may have done things in the past, I get it, but we have a judge that's currently the president of the AKAs. I serve on the board of WOCC. We just don't have the resources to put in place a resolution for one particular organization to have use of a facility if we can't extend that use to all organizations. I mean, the vote is the vote, but the reason I took a minute to put that out there is because we can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. And then most importantly, I wasn't going to say anything. It bothers me as a commissioner that when I ask about it, that I'm told that this was something I recommended. And it may be confusion in that, but more importantly, it's from an equitable lens.
Could we have handled this a little bit differently instead of telling an organization that helps the community and helps kids, definitely folk that I would think I would want our youth
Correct.
to follow and all to just say they can't use our facility.
No,
Well,
she's
no,
not
they're
saying,
they
hold
can't
on a
use- go
second.
ahead.
She's not saying that you can't use it,
No.
just that could not use it on a designated day every
And for
day of
free.
the month for free. Those
Correct.
requests, if I'm hearing her right, should come and be approved, just like Senator Davenport does it. When she wants to use a facility, she'll come and ask for the board to waive those fees. But let me also say this, though. After the agenda is set, each commissioner receives an update as to what was on that agenda. So we also got to make sure that we're reading our agenda that's given to us, so we don't overlook situations
And
like
you're,
this.
and you're exactly right. I take full
'Cause we did approve it,
responsibility.
right?
We did, but I'll take full responsibility because of what you stated. When each commissioner does something in their district, for me, if it's in your district, it doesn't bring any pause to me. So just as you stated, Mr. Chair, it was in reviewing what we were approved that caused the concern. And so what I would like to propose to the board, if we want to expand space beyond the free space that's already available, then what we do is come up with, as a board, for a discounted rate for nonprofits, because there's just no way we can serve equitably all the nonprofits that provide to the community. And I got an email even as late of this week, Mr. Chair, of an organization that was upset because they couldn't use it. We have to serve our entire community.
And I agree with that. And there is a rental fee that's in place for organizations to come before us and ask for either half price or for the fee to
Okay.
be totally waived. That's a board decision that's made at the time of the request comes in. So that is something that's already in place. So
Yes, sir.
To your point on that. All right, we already took a vote on this.
Yes,
What's
sir.
next?
The next item is the Civil Service Board appointments.
Okay, Civil Service Board appointments, the Human Resources request the appointment of posts 1 and 2 to the Civil Service Board members. The Civil Service Board appointees for these two posts are elected by the employees of Clayton County who have civil service protection. So they are the ones who made a selection and voted for these two post people to be in place. Post 1 is Kim Terrence Smith, post 2 is Larry Allen Bartlett. So in keeping with the desire and will of the employees, I place that as a motion to approve these two employees' appointments. You second?
Yes.
Probably moved in second. Are there any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next, we have
Mr. Chair, when you added the 2019-159, was that on the consent agenda or on the regular agenda?
Consent.
Next, we will have our public hearings for our zoning issues. Citizens may speak for or against an item that is considered by law to be a zoning decision, and each side will have 10 minutes to present its case. In the event there is more than one speaker per side, speakers must divide their time in order to complete their full presentation within the 10-minute time allotment. When the time runs out, speakers are expected to immediately cease speaking. Applicants or citizens speaking in favor of an item shall speak first. Applicants in zoning ordinance cases shall have the right to reserve time for rebuttal. Opponents of a zoning decision item shall have no right for rebuttal. When speaking, speak directly into the microphone and state your name, address, and name of your organization, if any. Abusive, profane, or derogatory language will not be permitted. Holding up signs, clapping, or yelling to support or for opposition to a speaker will not be permitted.
All right, Mr. Reed,
I'll sound the first item on the agenda.
go ahead.
Yes, first
Before you start, though,
Okay.
in reference to this Board of Commissioners initiated text amendment, we still need to have public hearing in reference to that.
That's correct.
Okay.
The first item on the agenda is the Clayton County Board of Commissioners initiates a text amendment to the official zoning code to amend Appendix A, Article 1, Section 1.5, define words section by defining the term place of worship to clarify ancillary uses typically allowed in conjunction with a place of worship and those uses that are located on the same property. The code currently does not define the term place of worship. The defined term will read as place of worship, a lot or building wherein persons assemble for worship. The term shall also include any of the following accessory uses on the same property: educational programs, social gathering rooms, food service facilities, indoor and outdoor recreation facilities, adult daycare, child daycare center, or parsonage caretaker residence. The term is being defined in order that we can clearly understand what type of uses are somewhat secondary to a place of worship. Oftentimes, when the place of worship go through a conditional use permit, at that time, we are evaluating the adequacy of that use for that location to make sure that they have adequate access, parking, and the facility meets all these safety and fire codes. So by having an established facility that can accommodate large gatherings, oftentimes these ancillary uses fit very neatly within a place of worship and act very compatibly as an accessory use. Are there any questions?
Any questions? All right, this is a public hearing, so is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone like to speak in favor of it? Anyone like to speak in opposition to it?
I have a question.
No? Question, Commissioner Hamburg.
Yes, Ms. Spann. So how does this differ, and maybe I missed it, from what we have on now?
Right now, our code does not define the term place of worship, so certainly we all relate to what the place of worship is. So currently, any zoning, practically each zoning district, residential and commercial, requires a conditional use permit. So we'll continue to have a conditional use permit to address where churches are appropriately located.
Mm-hmm.
But what this text amendment does is define the fact that within this place of worship, you can have a daycare. It clearly defines that, because we've had issues whether or not a daycare could be allowed, whether or not adult daycare could be allowed. So by defining the term, by saying these type uses are typical in a place of worship, such as dining facilities, most churches will have their own little dining hall. They have educational programs, sometimes they have recreational programs. So what this text amendment does is define the term by saying these certain accessory uses are allowed under the umbrella.
And what, you mentioned something about the parking.
What I was stating about the parking is that when we do a conditional use permit for a place of worship to go to a commercial area or residential, we're generally evaluating the suitability of that place of worship for that location. And parking is one of those things. We want to make sure that they have ample parking, ample access. So the thought is, once we have made that determination, we now have a facility that's appropriately located so that it can accommodate these secondary type uses.
Okay, so that's then in effect.
This text amendment will now define it, and the second item on the agenda is a request that we had on our agenda last month for a place of worship to have an adult daycare. We could not approve an adult daycare under the current code because we did not have a defined term that clearly spelled out what you could and could not do. So by amending the definition, we now know that if this is adopted, that you could do adult daycare, you could do adult daycare, or you could do recreational programs, and it all be clearly defined.
Okay. I mean, I was asking about the parking, because I know I had something to come a year or so ago where the parking was inadequate.
If it's a place of worship that's going through a conditional use permit, we make sure that they meet the minimum requirements for a place of worship. If there's a situation where we have some older facilities that have not gone through this process, it is possible that they do not have sufficient parking, but as part of the conditional use permit process, we are to check and make sure that they do have adequate parking.
Okay.
Any other questions for Alan?
So, let me ask. So a place of worship now is inclusive of all those other
Ancillary type
forms?
uses, right. Daycare.
Wouldn't that begin to impede on our efforts to begin to control what goes on in certain areas? Because right now, I'm thinking a place of worship is a church facility with a sanctuary, period.
That is atypical, and also typically, they often will have a church school, like a daycare for kids in the daytime. Sometimes they'll have a dining hall. Other related programs, sometimes they may even have a gymnasium attached to the church.
That's right.
So churches do sometimes expand their ministry to community-related facilities. So it's whatever the board's wish is in terms of how we need to define this. If there's some suggestions on other ways to define it, or we need to narrate it some other manner, we're open to.
Let me ask you this. Doesn't this now bring us more within line, or do you feel it brings us more within line with what the best practices are with places of worship traditionally?
Yes, we did take a look at some other related ordinances throughout the metro area, and this is a typical approach. I mean, some of them may require conditional use permits to go a step beyond. Some of them just define it outright. But if we just think about the place of worships that we know and that we're familiar with, then we can kind of evaluate ourselves whether or not they're functioning appropriately. You know, I would imagine we know a lot of facilities that have daycares and gymnasiums. So our question would be, are these facilities functionally appropriately at their locations with these type ancillary uses being included?
Also, I think it's very important to even just address what Commissioner Davis was bringing up, is that those worship facilities still have to go through state approval for use, and there are some modified conditions for use based upon that as well. So perfect example, Commissioner Davis, is the Mother's Day Out that is well known in a lot of the churches and facilities.
Any other questions?
You got something you want to say?
Is there something else? Good.
Right, your statement is correct, Commissioner Warren, that the state Office of Human Services, they regulate the daycare centers, the adult centers, to make sure that they are operating with the appropriate size in relation to the number of people they're serving. Fire Marshal's office does do independent fire marshal standards for those particular uses, so it's not just all lumped up under the umbrella of the church. Each one of those uses have to meet those particular standards by the state and the Fire Marshal's office. And I do want to clarify that the conditional use permit for the place of worship provides that opportunity to vet what type of uses would be suitable based on the locations.
Well, we put the onus on the state to vet because we've removed it from us. So if I want to just say I want to begin, create a place of worship, I can wait till it's approved, and then after that, come up with my adult daycare, my rec center, my children's daycare, my Yes, I can, because now all I do is,
Take-
I can either keep going, because I've already been approved for a place of worship, because I've got to wait for the state.
Can
to
I
come
make a
approve,
suggestion?
Or I don't
No,
approve
the
it by
wait,
the
the
state.
state still has to come in and.
Yeah, it's modified.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Can I suggest that we have a session on that? And I don't want to, I'm trying to pose these questions. I can only speak from having personal experience because I actually worked with Shiloh Baptist Church for over 6 years doing the very same thing. But I don't want to have it come from me. I want us to have a work session because it's not the same, Commissioner Davis. It is modified. It is totally modified. They're not able to run a regular daycare or regular this or that. It is modified, but they do have to come in and make sure that they're following the state laws and rules and regulations that you just saw.
And for me, this puts us more in line with the outreach that most churches are
Correct.
are
Like
undergoing
Divine
nowadays.
Faith, yes.
Yes, they have gymnasiums, they have Thursday meetings with the youth that they bring them to the church and everything else. So I think this is well crafted and put together, so I commend you on that. But as far as the passage of it, I'm good.
I make a motion to pass on this text amendment.
So moved. Second.
Any questions?
What was it? You made the motion to
Made a motion to
approve? Or to, okay.
And Commissioner Franklin Warner second the motion. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Yay or nay?
Nay.
Okay.
Nay.
We gotta get him up to date on Baptist churches and what we do. I think that's the problem, you know? We just gotta get him up to date.
Next.
What did you say? Yeah.
The second item on the agenda, somewhat related, the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to allow an adult daycare within the existing place of worship, Solid Rock Sanctuary. The applicant's request does not propose to expand the existing facility nor to expand the parking. The plan is to use the existing facility and only to utilize, according to what the state requirements are, a portion of the church for adult daycare center during the weekdays to expand their service and ministry to the community. This proposal for a conditional use permit to allow this use was the reason why the text amendment was generated, because our code did not allow us the ability to address additional uses on the place of worship, nor did our code define place of worship so that we could automatically make that interpretation. So with the text amendment that's before us that we just acted on, it now negates the need for this conditional use permit, and staff at this time would recommend that we withdraw this request. The applicant that's representing this may be in attendance here to speak on that, but at this time, the text amendment now defines it and would allow the adult daycare as an ancillary use, but granted, the state still needs to approve the facility, and the fire marshal still needs to approve the facility as well. So again, staff recommendation would be to withdraw because this CUP will not be needed.
Okay, is Mr. Ruffin here?
Yeah, Reverend Ruffin's here.
And sir, you really don't have to make a statement unless you just want to, but I just brought you up to acknowledge that you were here. Commissioner Gregory, the staff is recommending withdrawal of this item.
Okay, so.
Motion.
Okay, motion to withdraw, sorry. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
So-
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's
And
unanimous.
we'll
Wait a
ask them
minute.
if they're okay with that withdrawing, because it's
Yeah.
their application,
Oh,
not the
you're
board's.
right, you're right. Reverend Ruffin. Are you okay with the withdrawal of this?
Okay with the withdrawal.
Thank you, sir.
We can get the license.
All right. It was approved anyway. Thank you.
Great work, y'all.
Thank you.
Next.
The next item on the agenda is zoning matter. The applicant request, Whitley Engineering is requesting a future land use map amendment for a parcel of land from general commercial to light industrial to allow for truck parking facility. The subject property is located at 5490 Highway 42 in Ellenwood, Georgia, and is located within the Highway 42 overlay district. The subject property As described by the parcel ID listed on the agenda, it's approximately 20.50 acres of land and has 1,068 feet of frontage on Highway 42. Staff recommendation for the future land use plan amendment.
Ms. Span, remember, he is gonna withdraw this?
Yes, the applicant has indicated his intent to table this future land use plan amendment. The applicant is here to endorse or state the fact that his intention is to table the request for a future land use permit. And there is a companion case that I can sound separately also that relates to the rezoning of the property.
Applicant. What is your desire in reference to this item?
We would like to have this item tabled for the January meeting.
Commissioner Gregory.
Offer motion to table it until January.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The related item would be the rezoning, REZ 1908-0024. The request to rezone from general business to light industrial. The applicant, again, Mark Whitley, requesting rezone the property to construct a parking facility to allow 509 truck parking spaces and 5 additional passenger spaces. The property will also include a small structure, sort of a guard-like structure on the property.
These are related cases, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir,
Mr.
they're
Whitley.
related.
Again, state your intention for this item to be.
Yes, sir. We'd also like to have this one tabled for the January meeting.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gregory.
Motion to table until the January
second?
meeting.
Second?
Mr. Chair, just say what date that would be.
What day is this? January, first meeting in January, second meeting in January.
Third.
Second meeting in
Third.
January.
Second meeting.
Third Tuesday, I'm sorry.
Third week.
Third Tuesday.
21st.
January 21st.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Third Tuesday?
21st.
Yeah. Next.
Item agenda number F, BOC 1909-0005, request by Thomas N. Ward, requesting a future land use map amendment from low-density residential to medium-density residential for a senior housing apartment development. The proposed location is at 4209 and 4213 Grant Road, Ellenwood, Georgia. The parcel ID is described in the agenda before you. The subject property is approximately 19 acres of area and has 141 feet of frontage on Grant Road. The staff recommendation is for approval with conditions, and the zoning advisory group recommendations for denial. The applicant has indicated their intent to request tabling for this particular application and the companion application that I can read next.
Okay, is the applicant here?
Applicant's not here, but they sent in a letter, and I think they communicated with Ms. Span earlier today to make sure it was okay, that the letter was sufficient. And
Right, due to an illness, the applicant indicated they will not be able to be at the meeting, so the request was that they would accept a request for tabling.
Commissioner Gregory.
Okay, motion to table it also until January 21st.
Is there a
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The related case, I'll sound it for the record. Again, the related application is application by Thomas N. Ward requesting the rezoning. The prior request was for a future land use amendment. This is before the actual rezoning, to rezone the property from RS 180 to RM multifamily to allow 122 senior family housing units. Again, the property is at 4209 and 4213 Grant Road. Staff recommendation was approval with conditions. The zoning advisory group is for denial, and again, this is companion for it to be tabled.
Motion to table until January 21st.
Is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item H, agenda item BOC 1908-0017. This is a conditional use permit by the applicant, being Eric Brown, is requesting a conditional use permit to develop a 3,286 square foot Express Tunnel Car Wash. The proposed location is located at 7340 Jonesboro Road, Morrow, Georgia, which is further described as the parcel ID listed on your agenda. The subject property is currently zoned general business and has approximately 1.71 acres of land and 167.58 feet of road frontage on Jonesboro Road. Staff recommendation was for approval conditional. The zoning advisory group recommendations for denial.
It's Mr. Brown, the applicant here. Please. If you would state your name and any opening statements or remarks you would like to make, and tell us how many minutes you would like to reserve in rebuttal to anybody who's opposed to you.
Okay.
Usually it's about 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Eric Brown. We'd like to reserve the 10 minutes to speak today on behalf of the car wash, and 2 minutes for...
No, you get 10 minutes total.
10 minutes total?
So if you want to save anything for rebuttal, then your remarks will be 8 minutes, but you're not going to give anybody opportunity to speak in favor of it if somebody's here to do that, but the choice is yours.
Okay, well, we will definitely like to save 3 minutes for rebuttal. Okay, and I have one of the operators of the car wash with me who will also speak once I'm through in a part of my time. All right, thank you. I'm here to discuss the Express Tunnel Car Wash that we are requesting the permit, and this is going to be located in a commercial corridor heavily occupied by the automobile industry, including dealerships, automobile repair, as well as rental cars. The site will share access with Bojangles and QT per deeded restrictions. The building will be constructed of masonry, block, ephes, and glass, and built per the codes of Clayton County. This will have a monochromatic color palette with a very modern look. It will include very high-tech equipment, including a water reclamation system that recycles the water through the system 3 times before going through a filter and emptying into the sanitary sewer, not the storm water. This is a benefit to the county as well. The site will include free vacuums for their customers, as well as monthly memberships will be available where you can bring your car as many times as you like to get washed. Both the Bojangles and QT are aware of the development. The site is being purchased by Bojangles. QT was the original owner, and they had some deeded restrictions that actually allowed them to approve a landscape plan. We have a preliminary landscape plan that has been approved by QT and has been shared with Commissioner Davis as well. We intend to install the 8-foot sidewalks at the recommendation by Planning and Zoning, and we will have the shared access with the recommendation of Planning and Zoning. And we will provide ample landscape per the code, including trees along on the frontage of Jonesboro Road and in between Bojangles as well. The car wash will employ up to 14 people with starting wages of $14 an hour, with management earning up to $20 an hour based on membership sales. The projected economic impact based on the $1.2 million building construction cost that it takes to build one of these facilities, you're looking at currently taxes coming in at $3,629 on the site. After the improvements and the car wash of the site, you can expect a conservative number of at least $23,990 based on a fair market value of $1.47 million. So, and including this, that accounts for $11,819 that will be going to the school tax. I was also the project manager on the Platinum Fitness that was recently completed in Clayton County, and I'll be overseeing this facility as well, and it will definitely be built to the same quality and efficiency as that facility. And with that, I will hand it over to the operator of the car wash, Mr. McCall. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mac McCall with Caliber Car Wash. We're extremely excited to make a significant investment on Jonesboro Road. With this property, it's state-of-the-art car wash. It's going to be a great asset to the community, pretty much the most state-of-the-art car wash in Clayton County with best-of-class customer service to our customers. So we're excited about the opportunity. Like Mr. Brown mentioned, very good paying jobs above minimum wage, mostly to younger men and women. environmental friendly, and we're very active in giving back to the communities that we're involved into, both through raising money through charities and supporting local schools. So we're excited about the opportunity and look forward to opening soon.
Okay, is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor of the car wash?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something.
Come forward, please.
Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. From what I see on the map here, that this business is within a heavy commercial area, I must suggest, or say, separated by what I believe is railroad tracks and a community. I see a community there across the tracks and separated. But the rest of the area is heavy or a heavy commercial area. And I would request, as a citizen, not being paid by any one of these gentlemen whatsoever, that you approve their business. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak in favor? All right, at this time, anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the applicant's request, please come forward. Mr. Jefferson.
I'm Timothy Vondell Jefferson, unincorporated Clayton County. I am very, very concerned about the duplication of services. We currently have approximately 5 car washes within a 1 mile radius of this particular location. So we're gonna, on that particular reason, I'm not against the location, I'm against the fact that we have a multitude of car washes within a 1 mile radius. And are we anticipating on putting a moratorium on car washes, or are we gonna let this to continue throughout the community? That's my concern. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Chairman, may I have a
Hold on. No, sir. No, sir. You already had your say. Yes, sir.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm a taxpayer and a fellow car wash owner, and I had basically the same concerns that he just spoke of, the amount of car washes. The International Car Wash Association
Your name.
encourages a 3 mile.
Say your name, sir.
Oh, sorry about that, Ralph McClellan. Anyway, the International Car Wash Association encourages the 3 mile rule for protection of other car wash owners. Anything less than 3 miles is known through studies to take about 25% from all the existing car washes. As taxpayers, I ask for y'all's protection for me and everybody else in the area, like he just stated. One of the main Sonny's corporate customers is 1.9 miles from him. I don't know that he could make it tonight, but that would be Tidalway Scott Blackstock. The Sonny's distributor was concerned with where they were getting the equipment, being in competition with one of their main clients. We don't know how any of this is getting done. I was concerned with the proximity to all the other car washes too. In fact, y'all just allowed a $5 million car wash to go down. You want to talk about state of the art? The Tommy's car wash down there, $5 million car wash. It's less than 2 miles. All this competition is going to cause foreclosures. The studies have shown one of the biggest investors in the business, Zips, just pulled out and is having financial difficulties just last month. A lot bigger than these guys, but private money groups, big money groups are coming in here trying to take over this business. So I guess my main thing is to ask y'all to protect your current tax-paying citizens. You could have one more guy paying taxes, but then you got one more in the ground. It dilutes the market, it's unsafe. When I came out here, I did my due diligence. Kimberly Smith told me that y'all would not allow any more car washes, like the moratorium he was just speaking of. Several areas have that, including Johns Creek now, Brookhaven, South Carolina, and Mount Pleasant. Several areas have come to their senses. This is not like a restaurant where you have different types of food. Everybody has to eat, so you got to eat somewhere. You got different types of food. You got a McDonald's. Everybody compares McDonald's, Burger King. It's not the same kind of thing. A car wash washes a car. He talks about state-of-the-art equipment. It's all state-of-the-art equipment. It's all very similar price. It all does the exact same thing. You might have a different color here, a different color there, but it's all the same stuff. I guess I'll keep it short, but that's my main concern, is that there's an encouraged rule, 3 miles. Used to be 5 miles, but with more residents, some areas have gone down to 3 miles. It's strongly discouraged that anybody breaks that rule, but some people do it. I don't know if they're using their money or investors' money, but some people don't care. That's what got Zips into this problem. But either way, you're diluting the market. You got too many of the exact same type business in the same area. I think it's bad for the county. Half the county, there's certain areas that look like ghost towns. I don't know what's happened in the past out here. There's a lot of areas in Georgia like this and all over the world, but if you drive through certain areas, there's a lot of businesses that have been put out of business, and I'm assuming that at times there's been bad management, bad decision making on the business side, whatever the choices were, but the moratoriums would be a good idea. You got too many people coming in, diluting certain markets that just can't support it. All the studies, a big talk in the car wash magazines, car wash websites. It's a big. I left all my stuff on my desk. I had study reports to bring you, but y'all probably know me from about a little less than 3 years ago. I was up here when I had that meeting with Kimberly Smith. She said no more car washes. We're not allowing any more car washes in the area. I found out today she's not with y'all anymore. But in fact, after I bought that place and had resumed operations, somebody came to me from the county and told me I couldn't have a car wash there because they changed the zoning. I said, what are you talking about? That's why I was here in this room. But they told me during the due diligence that there was no more car washes allowed. And I speak out for people across this state and every other state because of this overbuilding of car washes. It's putting people under. And it's somebody's got to protect the citizens. We're taxpayers currently here contributing, employing your citizens. And all I can really do is ask. I did this in Johns Creek. I got shot down because one person spoke up. Woodstock, I got shot down because one person spoke up. They protect their citizens. And that's the only favor I ask. There's plenty of respectable places to build car washes within that distance. But everybody else wants a piece of somebody else's pie these days, and it just doesn't work out in this business. It's not a necessity, it's a luxury. You don't have to have a car wash. People like them, but when you dilute a certain market, I think it's bad for everybody. You have a foreclosure, it hurts the other people's property values. It costs everybody. That's my short version of everything since I forgot all my notes, but anyway, I had actual studies I was going to bring and show you the damage that it actually does to these markets and the ones that are falling into foreclosure these days, even using investors' monies. And I was kind of shocked to see that big investment group Zips fall apart last month.
What's your county of residence?
Greensboro at the current time.
North Carolina?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia, okay.
Lake Oconee.
Lost me. Okay, didn't know that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Please come forward.
Good evening. Atanya Jean Funny. I just want to speak on it, unincorporated Clayton. I just want to speak on it from an environmental impact with the car washes, because the things that come off of the cars actually do impact our environment, our ground, our water, things like that. You know, I just saw a study for the city of Hampton in Henry County where they had some issues with their water. So if we do have all of those car washes that are still there, I mean, I lived in a subdivision at one time where they didn't even want you to wash your cars in your driveway. They had a designated area because of the environmental impact. So I just, you know, wanted another point of view that we want to think about the environmental impact of car washes when we have so many in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Opposition? Mr. Brown? Or
appreciate everybody's comments and concerns. Number one, I know it's not this board's position or job to choose favorites in business, and we're focused on providing the best quality product to the customer and let the customer decide what they want. And we think that we have the best product and service, and we will have the best product and service in this market. So the customer will decide what their favorite is. And to address the environmental concerns, we take a lot of pride in that, because the new state-of-the-art car washes, it's not people washing cars in lots with hoses. There's a lot of state-of-the-art soap that's used. It's recycled. It's all biodegradable and very clean. And so versus some of the older car washes where they're using hoses and other soaps, ours is all recycled 3 times before it goes in the sewer, like Mr. Brown said, and all the water is dialed in pretty good. So if you wash your car at home, you're using probably 3 times as much water on your car than we are going to use and release it to the storm sewer. So that addresses both my rebuttals. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, Commissioner Davis.
We've heard our citizens, and I think they speak loudly. And plus, I drove the area today, and we are overrun with car washes. Second, to the gentleman's comment on the Tommy's Car Wash, that was approved by the city of Jonesboro, not Clayton County. But for this and where we are trying to go with our vision for this county, I move that we deny this request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous. Next.
Agenda item I, case number BOC 19100020. The applicant, Shetty Borders, is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a cottage food establishment which allows cake baking within a residence. The property is RES 180 Single Family Residential. The property is located at 7823 Big Bend Court. Parcel ID is referenced on your agenda. The property has a 63.4 feet of road frontage on Big Bend Court. Staff recommendation is for approval conditional. The zoning advisory group recommendation is for approval with conditions. The only condition recommended by staff is that the facility be operated by the applicant, Shetty Borders, and should there be another operator, the conditional use permit would cease to be approved for that location.
Ms. Borders here. Please come forward. Please state your name and county residence and any amount of minutes you would like to reserve for rebuttal comments.
Okay, my name is Shelley Borders, Clayton County. 3 minutes.
3 it is. Please.
So I'm here today to, like she stated, to apply for a conditional use permit for a cottage food license for my home to bake cakes and cupcakes. At my residence, there will be not where the cakes are already made and people can come and drive up and get a cake. This will be strictly by order. I am attempting to get my license so I can participate in community events, work with event planners and wedding planners.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak in favor of this applicant's request?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Garber,
I'd like to speak, sir.
come forward. You can have a seat, ma'am.
Okay.
Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. This lady, Miss Borders, is a fine example of entrepreneurship. And we should support more people like this. Coming from a family who has always worked in a family business, was reared in a family business, supported ourselves with a family business. You have to have a start somewhere. And if we do not give our people of this county a start, then we're doomed to failure. If this lady is successful in her endeavors, in her small area, she will expand into a commercial area and become a vibrant, not just an individual, but a entrepreneurial leader within our county. And with that, I support her endeavor as a fellow citizen of Clayton County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak in opposition to? Anybody opposed? Commissioner Davis.
I move that we approve this request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions?
Can we get a sample?
Commissioner,
That's-
one time,
They're not free.
I'll pay for it.
Commissioner, I just
Yes.
wanted to clarify, whenever we deal somebody with cottage foods, we just always make sure that no signs in the yard.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Things like that.
Ms. Band.
Please take the podium. So
Thank
the
you.
question is, they want to make sure there's no signs and you will not be selling
Selling.
from the house.
Absolutely.
Great.
No, I don't want any signs on my
Okay.
home.
Thank you.
Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
The next item on the agenda is item J, case number BOC 19100026. The applicant, DSP Acquisition LLC, is requesting a future land use map amendment from mixed use to mixed use commercial industrial to allow for a warehouse distribution facility of 180,300 square feet in area. The proposed location is at 526 Rock Hill Road and the corner of Highway 85, Jonesboro, Georgia. The property is further described by the parcel ID number in your packet. The subject property is approximately 1.77 acres of land with 226 feet of frontage on Rock Hill Drive and 102.5 feet of frontage on Highway 85. The request is a companion application that consists of this item I just read is a future land use plan amendment. The following is a request for rezoning, and the third companion case is a request for a conditional use permit. The future land use permit that I just read was recommended for approval by staff and recommended for approval by the zoning advisory group. I can sound the other cases individually or sound them all now, and the applicant.
It's the,
One at a time?
you gotta have a public hearing for each occasion. Please state your name, who you work for or represent, and how many minutes in rebuttal you would like to have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Steve Rothman. 2849 Paces Ferry Road is my office address. I represent the applicant DSP Acquisitions LLC. What I'd like to do is one presentation for all three.
You can do your presentation,
Okay.
we'll accept
Yeah,
that.
and just do it all at once.
But we're gonna have to have a public hearing for each of them.
Okay, well, I'll just stand up and say, on the second two, that I've already said it. I'd like to ask, because we have two people, in terms of my rebuttal time, we have two people who are property owners that would want to speak in favor. Are they counted against our time, or are they separate?
Yes, they're counted against your time if you're
Okay.
gonna have them.
I'd like to reserve 5 minutes for rebuttal. And I'll jump into it. My name is Steve Rothman, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We're asking to build a warehouse, 180,300 square foot warehouse. To accomplish this, if you see on the zoning map, if that comes up, the property is mostly zoned heavy industrial, which allows petroleum refineries, copper smelting, garbage incineration. It's heavy industrial, as is the area to the south and to the north, everything that's purple on that map. The little red in the corner, at the corner of 85 and Rock Hill, is a Citgo gas station. And we're asking to take that red, which is general business, and rezone that to light industrial, and rezone 90% of this parcel from heavy industrial to downzone it to light industrial. So we're taking heavy industrial off the table, even though we're surrounded by heavy industrial, and go with light industrial. The purpose of that is to allow a warehouse. I want to be very quick to give the others a chance to speak. we discovered during the process that there is a neighbor on the heavy industrial land to the south of us who resides there. It surprised me. I didn't know he resided there. He grew up there, and we were concerned by that. And so we've met with him, Mr. Ajike, your director, and Madeline convened a meeting. We've done what we can to address his concerns. Those conditions have been baked into the staff's recommended conditions, which in my rebuttal I'll get into in more detail. But I want you to know that we understand that he is your constituent. We want to do what we can, but it is impossible to not do anything on this property. And we're not, the owners are not allowed to do residential. They're not allowed to continue living here because that's not allowed under the current zoning. We think we're offering a good deal and ask that you consider that this is a good deal by downzoning to LI on the vast majority of this site and put in place the protections that we're offering. And with that, I'd like the property owners who live, this is an assemblage and there's homes on this property, I'd like them to come up, a couple of them, to address you.
All right, anybody who'd like to speak in favor of this applicant's request, please come forward. Please state your name.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'm Bailey Turner. I live at Rock Hill Drive in Clayton County. I've been there for 41 years. My kids have grown up there. When I moved in there, it was very, very nice, very, very quiet. Now it's nothing but industry. Please let these people have their zoning. Let me move on. My house is falling down around me. I cannot get permits to rebuild. Even if I had $1 million, which I don't, I couldn't rebuild it. It's an industry zoned area. I appreciate you listening to me, and y'all have a very happy New Year and a Merry Christmas.
You too. Next.
Good evening to the commissioners. My name is Eloise Person, and I reside at 580 Rock Hill Drive. I concur with Ms. Turner. The property has already been zoned heavy industrial, which affords us not to be able to build any residential homes on the property. The home that I live in, when I moved there, I had planned on building a home there because the house that's there is really a substandard property. I would not invest any money into that property at this time or in the future because it's been rezoned already. And when I came to planning and zoning, about the planning and zoning, they told us we could not build a residential home there. So to be honest with you, I have been looking forward to someone, some developer coming in and taking over the property. So the residents that live there, we had already discussed that we would sell if someone came through to buy the property. I mean, there's nothing we can do with it as far as residential, and we're not planning on building, any commercial businesses there. So I'm with Ms. Turner and saying, let them go on and have the property.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, is there anybody here who'd like to speak in opposition to the applicant's request? Please come forward, sir. Please set the timer for 10 minutes. Yes, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Edwards. I live in my home at 5715 Highway 85, which is right next door to this proposed warehouse. Right now, also, my sister is living there now. She's moved back in now that she's alone. But I've been living there for the last 70 years. I've seen a whole lot of different things on Highway 85. You'll have to excuse me, I'm kind of nervous. Right now is probably the most life-changing situation I've ever been in my life. I've written down a few things. I might not even be able to read my own writing, but I'm going to try. I've only known about this project for a little over 4 weeks, but the first time I saw the proposed building layout, I knew it would be a disaster for my sister and me if it wasn't changed. As drawn, the dock doors and the truck and trailer parking are on my side of the building, not the Rock Hill Drive side of the building. Since my home is only a little over 100 feet from the property line, I'm going to be subjected day and night to all the noise of the truck traffic, diesel engine idling overnight, trucks dropping trailers, which sound like a cannon going off, and worst of all, the blare of backup beepers from trucks and forklifts. At several of the meetings we've had, I have proposed that the building should be turned around so that the dock doors and the truck and trailer parking are on the Rock Hill Drive side of the building. That way there is more distance between my home and the truck noise, and the building itself would help block the noise. The truckers would like it better because they can come straight in to the warehouse from Highway 85 instead of having to climb Rock Hill Drive and come in a driveway at the top next to the Premier Garden Apartments and maneuver into the back. At first, I was told that there was a county ordinance against trucks in the front of a building. I suggested they could get an exception since you wouldn't be spoiling the looks of Rock Hill Drive. They then said that the slope of the lot was wrong for doing that. As it is, they're going to spend a lot of money flattening off that hill to put that building on. I don't know why they can't just make it a little flatter. To date, the only thing that has been put in writing is putting a 6-foot privacy fence at the top of a at the top of a retaining wall, my writing, that I had asked for since my backyard would be open to anyone. At a meeting last week with Mr. Ejike of the Community Development Office, he proposed changing the fence to a sound-absorbing wall to try and lessen the truck noise and the blare of the backup beepers. The problem is that if you can hear the backup beepers at all in the house, at night they sound just like an alarm clock going off, and it would wake us up. Next, I propose that the hours of operation should be during the day only so that there wouldn't be any truck traffic at night. They said they couldn't agree to that since they didn't know the requirements of their tenants. At this time, they've said that they have no one ready to move into this facility. My question about what is the occupancy of the existing warehousing on the other side of Rock Hill Drive has not been answered. Are they full, half full, or what? Is this facility actually needed, or is it speculation on a perceived future need? There are other projects that would be better suited to the topography of the land and the needs of the community. Before the real estate bust in 2008, a company was going to take this property, my property, and the property next to me, and build a senior citizen community similar to the Villages complex in Florida. There was going to be apartment towers and cluster homes, a recreational complex, a medical facility, and most of all, a transportation center so the residents could do their shopping without having to drive a car. Unfortunately, with the real estate bust, that project went by the wayside. So far, I have touched on some of the problems we'll face during the operation phase of the project. The long construction phase has many big unanswered questions also. Just like the noise from operation, the noise of construction for me and the residents of the Premier Garden Apartments would be impossible to live with. Bulldozers and dump trucks and other construction equipment. There would be no privacy, no security. And then there's the blasting that is scheduled to be done. I'm told that I will be notified each time they will blast. I guess I'm supposed to gather up my pets, and my sister and I evacuate our home, all because of their project. I'm assured that if the blasting damages my property, that they will fix it. But like everything else, nothing is in writing. The residents of the Premier Garden Apartments will also get their share of blasting. Another unanswered construction problem is that when they start clearing pine trees from their property, they could start an infestation of pine bark beetles that could come onto my property and kill every pine tree on my place. I have some very large, very valuable trees that could be as old as 200 years. If the trees are killed and removed, my home would look like a moonscape. And who would pay for the trees and their removal? Every time I ask this question, it's like no one hears me. At some of the meetings, the question has been asked, why is Mr. Edwards opposed to this project? After all, his property is zoned heavy industrial too. My property is zoned heavy industrial because someone at the county deemed the entire area heavy industrial, not knowing there was an occupied house there. There were no notices, no meetings, no letters. The only way I learned of the zoning change was when I got my tax bill and my taxes had doubled. I should have been grandfathered in and my zoning kept residential. I guess you could say that a person should be able to do what he wants on his own property as long as it's legal. However, when what he's doing crosses the property line and impacts the lives of the people next door, that's not right. This project, the way it's designed now, is going to destroy the quality of life for my sister and me, and it's going to impact the lives of the residents of the Premier Garden Apartments. This project will create a situation where it will be impossible for my sister and me to live in our own home that I have lived in for the past 70 years. There are too many unanswered problems, and there's nothing in writing. I'm asking you to please vote no on this zoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak? Mr. Leatherwood.
Rob Leatherwood, Clayton County. I've known Mr. Edwards for a couple of years now, and I can only imagine what he's going through right now. And I kind of want to echo what Commissioner Davis said a minute ago about the car wash you denied. The statement he made was there's too many car washes, we're getting overrun, and we have residents who oppose them. Do we not think we're getting overrun with warehouses in Clayton County? How many times does that come up over and over again? And then we have a zoning issue where we have homes, and again, somebody came in and rezoned residential as heavy industrial. Commissioner Hambrick, your motto is working to improve our quality of life. It states that at the top of every email blast that you send out. How is this going to improve the quality of life of the apartment owners and of Mr. Edwards, as he stated here today? I know this is a big decision. I know there were some residents who would benefit financially from this, but they're not going to be there with those that I have to stay that will be impacted. And so it's hard to make these decisions, but at the end of the day, we're here to represent our constituents. We're here to represent our residents. So I have to echo what Mr. Edwards says and ask you to please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We've got about 30 seconds left. All right, sir, you got 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to respond where the opponents ended, which is Commissioner Hambrick's logo and quality of life, and then characterizing the tenants, the people who own the homes now, as they've got a buck in it. It's more than selling to make a profit. It's that they're between a rock and a hard place because the property is owned heavy industrial. They're surrounded by heavy industrial, and even if they wanted to invest in their homes by getting permits to fix them up, they can't do that because the zoning doesn't allow it. So they're not just here greedy people. Your constituents who live there are not just being greedy. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they are across Rock Hill Drive, across the street from warehouses. So they have a real problem, and I don't think it's fair to characterize them as just being greedy. You know, I'm going to go through the point by point, but first I want to say during the process, one of the things that we did, because we heard Mr. Edwards, and we responded when he said there's nothing in writing, I don't think that's totally accurate. The staff has got conditions, got us to agree to conditions, and they're in writing, and the conditions show, and if we can go to the site plan of our project, on the bottom of the page, his home and his property is down below. We are higher than him. In fact, the retaining wall that'll be on the east side is going to be 20 feet tall above him. And then there's going to be a 6-foot solid fence above that. So he's going to be looking at least 26 feet of screening. That's something that we can do. So there is something in writing, because we're trying to respond to his concerns. We heard his concerns about noise. You know, he talked to you about just put the loading docks in front, just flip it. But there's a Cherry Hill overlay district, and there's a standard that you've set where those warehouses don't have those loading docks facing the street. And that's what all of those loading docks and warehouses have above it. If these guys go forward and build this, they have to compete with businesses and warehouses that don't have that look at my loading dock look to it. And so it just doesn't work from a practical matter in terms of marketing. It doesn't work. The engineer can respond to this. I don't understand it. Our engineer is here, by the way, that the slope doesn't work to put the truck court up on the street with the loading docks facing. So we're just trying to comply with your standard, and frankly, we just can't make that work. We would like to, but we just can't. The concerns about construction noise, the concerns about the pine beetles, those are things, the only way we can do something about that is not do anything. If we built, first of all, he suggested, why don't you do senior living there? Well, you need a rezoning to do that. It's not allowed right now. But if you did senior living, you're still gonna have construction noise, you're gonna have blasting, because there's rock there, although the blasting is limited, and if that's concern to you, we're happy to get into those details. The pine beetles, you're gonna have to remove trees, whether you're building assisted living or doing it for a warehouse. So the truth is, we've given them everything we can in writing. The only alternative is to do nothing on that property. Pine beetles, if you take those trees down, according to him, will come. Construction noise will occur. And because of the granite in the upper left-hand corner, there's gonna be some blasting. That's for anybody. So we're trying our best, and we are, so I don't think it's fair to say nothing is in writing, because it's in the conditions, which is the best that we can do. And the alternative to respond to him is to do nothing, to leave that land vacant and to let your constituents' homes that are there just continue to fall in. Let's see, you know, you've set a policy in your future land use plan and with your zoning of heavy industrial here. My clients aren't interested, they're not looking to go into a neighborhood and change anything. They were relying on your policy, not only what's built around it, but your policy of what's appropriate here. And so in the end, I'd ask you to remember that this is essentially a down zoning. We're going from heavy industrial to light industrial with a conditional use permit and allowing a little bit of the corner of the property near the Citgo to go light industrial also. We're doing our best. In fact, we believe that it's fair for you to consider that overall, this is a better way to go, to have, instead of heavy industrial, go light industrial. That the warehouse is a better use with less negative impacts than the kinds of uses allowed in heavy industrial. So we'd appreciate your support, and if you have questions, the owner is here, or the applicant is here, and also the engineer. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Commissioner Hambrick.
Yes, I have been in communications with the Community Development Office, which we agree that whenever that zoning was done as industrial, that there were some things that were not taken into consideration. So the first of the year, we will be in the process, along with some other rezonings and all, and rezone that area. Because of an apartment complex that has hundreds of residents, the school, a daycare and all, and there had been mention of other warehouses. Yes, there are other warehouses on the other side of, what's that, Rock Hill? Or whatever. No, it's called Industrial, I'm not clear on what that street is called, what that road is called, which is away from the residents and away from Mr. Edwards and others, and away from the complex. We were looking at this, trying to figure out how would these trucks or whatever come in, and they would come in, I guess this 2-lane Rock Hill road and all, which would impede traffic and all for that school, the daycare, and I'm sure it's something else. I think, let's see, daycare, school, and apartment complex and all. So anyway, due to these things or whatever and all, I'm going to ask that we deny this request for rezoning.
Is there a
Right now-
second?
Hold on, Mr. Chair, right now before you is a request on the future land use plan amendment, the rezoning. Although they discussed all of that in their presentation, the only thing that's before you right now is the future land use plan amendment. Number,
Denied.
J.
Denied.
I just wanted to make sure that
Okay,
your
then we have
motion
that,
and
yes.
was on, not on the rezoning, but on the future land use map amendment. That's what you all are
Okay.
considering right now.
Well, okay, well, to restate that motion, denial for the future land use of the property.
Probably moved in second. Is there any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next.
I'll sound for the record the rezoning and then the conditional use permit so that we could pass a motion on those.
You still need to do a single items because you could conceivably rezone and deny a conditional use permit. You could conceivably change a future land use map and not rezone. That's why you have to do them separate.
So I'll sound the rezoning case. That'll be case number BOC 19100024. The applicant, DSP Acquisitions LLC, is requesting a rezoning of parcels from HI Heavy Industrial to GB General Business to Light Industrial to allow for a warehouse distribution facility of 180,300 square feet in area. The subject properties are located at 526, 540, 580, 590 Rock Hill Road, 5695 Highway 85, and a vacant parcel also adjacent on Highway 85. The parcel ID numbers consist of 7 parcels. The parcels are listed on your agenda. The subject rezoning for all 7 parcels consists of 12.6 acres of land. The staff recommendation was for approval. The zoning advisory group recommendation was for approval as well, with conditions. That the third companion case to this would be the conditional use permit, BOC, well, I'm sorry, I'm moving along too fast. Sorry, Chuck.
Thank you.
Okay. I get it one day.
Applicant have a statement. Anything to say?
Good evening, Steve Rothman. On behalf of the applicant, I will say something quickly, which is that with regard to the apartments to the west, we're proposing a buffer planted to the county's standards, and none of the folks in those apartments have come to us to discuss concerns. They didn't come to the community information meeting, but if there are things that we can do to ameliorate any impacts that you're concerned about, Commissioner Hambrick, we're happy to discuss that. Secondly, with regard to Rock Hill Road and the concern about truck access there, it's a narrow road now. We will be required to widen the road, and the traffic department came close to reading us the riot act that you're gonna do a turn lane there. So we fully expect to widen Rock Hill Road there, which I think if that's a concern, we can get into those details, and we will address those things. So I think this project could address your concerns if you're still open to it. That's all I have.
All right, anybody want to speak in favor of this? Come forward, please.
I appreciate everything the gentleman said a while ago about the blasting, because I heard it for the first 6 years I lived in my house. Pictures fell off my walls. As far as the beeping of trucks and construction across the street from the warehouses that are across the street from me, I heard it the whole time my mother was dying with cancer. It kept us up at night. Nobody cared then. Nobody denied it then. Why deny it now? I'm not asking for a whole lot of money. I just want somewhere decent to live. I want the same things everybody else has.
Thank you, ma'am. Please come forward. Ma'am, please, no outbursts like that.
I came back to say that I'm with Ms. Turner. I don't know if you all have actually been over to see the homes that we live in. And the only reason we did not tear those homes down for myself and rebuild, when I bought the land, I bought it to build the home that I wanted to live in. I don't know if you're aware of it, but when I moved there, it was just woods. Nothing was there. I loved it, the seclusion of the area, but I could go down to Highway 85 and find everything I needed. I could go to Riverdale Roadside and find everything that I needed. I left home one morning, there were bulldozers, tractors, and everything there. When I came back, all the woods were gone and the warehouses was going up. And so I'm saying, what are we supposed to do? The house down the street behind the Zitco is already halfway on the ground. The house that Ms. Turner lives in is dilapidated. The house that I live in is dilapidated. I didn't buy it to stay there. I bought it to the land because the land was beautiful. I bought it to build me a home. But now that it has been rezoned, what are we supposed to do to better ourselves, to have a home, like she said, that's decent to live in? And so I would ask the board to please take that into consideration, that you have someone living in homes that are not up to standard, and we can't invest money in the homes because of the zoning. So are we just gonna be stuck another 20 years, another 10, 15, 20 years in homes that we can't do anything with? There's nothing we can do with them. So I'm asking you all to take that into consideration. What are we supposed to do?
Anybody else?
Since I'm the excuse me, I'm Michael Shack. I'm from Illinois. I figured since I'm the applicant, I should come up and speak. So thank you for your time. When we started this process, we looked at Clayton County and we looked at what the existing zoning was. And when we develop, we try to be good neighbors. We try to work with the community. So what we did is try to find areas where the community has already said, this should be an industrial area. And so that's what we did. We're not asking to come into an area that's zoned commercial or anything else, but basically to work with you on what you guys have told us is what you want in the community. As Mr. Rothman has also indicated, we're not asking to put a garbage dump, a heavy oil refinery, but something that is consistent with the surrounding neighbors. We've, listened to Mr. Edwards' concerns. We've taken those into account, what you see in the conditions for approval. We have worked with the current residents who are suffering as a result, because their only way to be able to live a better life is to be able to sell to somebody who can then act on the zoning that's in place. And so we come to you trying to tell you that we want to be good neighbors and we want to work with you on this. Ms. Turner can come back up here and tell you what we've done to help her in this time as well. So I'd like you to really consider that. We're coming into a community, we want to create jobs. We understand. And there isn't too many warehouses. I will tell you that because we've done studies on it, and we wouldn't build if it wasn't. The last thing that we want is a vacant warehouse. It does nobody any good. It doesn't do us any good, and it doesn't do you any good. So what we're trying to do is add to the community, invest in the community, and we appreciate your consideration.
Anybody in favor? Mr. Jefferson.
Timothy Vondell Jefferson, unincorporated Clayton County. I am a little concerned. This thing was rezoned heavy industrial without a consideration of the current landowners, the residents that came here. They have an opportunity to be made whole on this particular decision. Now, we pay our staff a lot of money. And here I see the staff recommends approval. And we have a board, ZAG, that recommends approval. Now, after all of these studies and the meetings and all of these wonderful safeguards that we have in place, and our professionals that we hire says approval, then the board must take that under strong consideration. Because there's no sense in having a staff that we are paying very well to analyze, to study this, and to bring you back an assessment when it says approval from both entities, but yet nobody seems to pay attention to that. That's my deepest concern. So this situation needs to be approved. I understand the young man's concern about him being there 70 years, but the citizens need to be made whole. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm Shagate Freeman. I live in Mapleton, Georgia. I only want to say I'm the civil engineer working with DSP. The topography of that site, I know where you might be going, where you might want to put in that, change the land use in the future. There's a 60-foot drop across their property. So the use of that lot and the construction on that lot and developing it is going to be more beneficial to a warehouse use. Then there's not sewer there now. So if you want to plan and put something other than commercial or industrial there, it'll probably sit vacant longer due to the topography and sewer not being there. The bigger guys that come in there, they have the budget and funding to provide sewer on their lot and to make a better use for that lot. So I just want to, I can only assume where you might want to go with development and the idea to change the future land use map. But just looking at, from an engineering standpoint and topography on that site, it's going to be those big guys that are going to need to buy this property. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Come forward.
Good evening. My name is Echezona Chuks Majago. I own 540 Rock Hill Drive. There's no structure on it. What I've been doing to Clayton County for the past 7 years is pay taxes. There's nothing else I can do there. Nothing, absolutely nothing I could do at that property but pay you taxes. I cannot develop it. I don't have that kind of money. I bought it so I can build a house there. I can't do that anymore. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, anybody want to speak in opposition? Anybody speaking in opposition? Commissioner Hamburg.
Let me say this. Again, I have talked with community development, and the very first of the year, we will be in the process of rezoning some areas, and that area is included in that rezoning. As far as the apartments are concerned, I have had calls and all from some of the residents there who are very concerned that that would back up to their living quarters along with Mr. Edwards. Same concerns and all. And because of that, I recommend denial of this. Is this the rezoning, of the rezoning?
Yes.
Of this property?
All right, the motion is to deny the rezoning. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Next.
The third companion case is the request for the conditional use permit. After the property would have been rezoned, the conditional use permit would have addressed the warehouse use. The applicant, DSP Acquisition LLC, is requesting a conditional use permit on property under the LI zoning district to allow for warehouse distribution of 180,300 square feet area. Again, the property located at 526, 540, 580, 590 Rock Hill Road, 5695 Highway 85, and property at 0 Highway 85. The parcels consist of 7 parcels, and the parcel IDs are referenced on the agenda. The total parcel acreage is 12.6 acres, with 726 feet of frontage on Rock Hill Drive and 102.5 feet of frontage on Highway 85. Again, staff recommendation was for approval conditional, and the zoning advisory group recommendation was for approval conditional as well.
Applicant have any comments?
Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Anybody like to speak? This is still a public comment. Anybody like to speak for the applicant's request? Anyone want to speak in opposition to it? Commissioner Hambrick.
I offer denial of the conditional use permit.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next.
Sorry. The next item on the agenda, the request is for, agenda item number M. The case number being BOC 19100027, request for rezoning. The applicant, TWG Ellenwood Anvil LLC, is requesting a rezoning from RS 180 residential single family to RM residential multifamily to allow for 128 senior housing units. The subject property is located at 3067, 3079, 3109, and 3095 Anvil Block Road. Properties are further described by the parcel ID numbers on your agenda. The property contains a total 10.4 acres of land with 549 feet of frontage on Anvil Block Road. And it also has a companion case that will sound, a companion case for a future land use plan amendment that will sound separately.
What was the recommendation?
Staff recommendation is for approval conditional. The zoning advisory group recommendation is for denial.
All right, is the applicants here? Please come forward. Please state your name and
The name is Steve Wasserman.
who you represent and how many minutes you want to reserve in rebuttal.
Okay, I represent the Wasserman Group. I live in Smyrna, Georgia. I'd like to reserve 5 minutes if I could. So thank you for the opportunity to address you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So I'm here to introduce a active adult senior housing property that we propose to develop next to the police station on Anvil Block Road, which is immediately next to the new senior center. So we have just a natural flow of great protection, great amenity. We're across the street from a major shopping facility, which is Walmart, as you know. And we have downsized the property from 128 units to 125 units. The majority will be 2 bedrooms. It will be affordable to a large population in the community. And it kind of addresses what our company does, and that is we look at, mainly because you're looking at a guy who could live there, where are seniors going to live? And it is a pressing problem, not just in Clayton County, but throughout the United States and obviously Atlanta and Georgia. So we've designed a property that fits really nicely on the property, if I may. Let's see. This is a representation of how the building will lay out, and I'll show you the building in just a minute. This is Anvil Block, a natural cross street here, police station here, senior center here. What we'd like to do is ask the police for permission to put a wide sidewalk that would connect us to the senior center. We'll have a lot of green space, no swimming pool because the senior center obviously has a pool, but lots of open green space, great amenities, staffing that supports the lifestyle of people 55 and above, while in reality, most people who live in properties like this are 65 and above. We've increased the parking basically over the requirement of zoning. And I'd like to show you what we're proposing for the architecture. This is in keeping with current architectural styles. It'll be a multi-story building, have 2 elevators, probably actually 3 at the end of the day. Flat roof, all brick or masonry siding, no wood, no vinyl. Very attractive building. And that's it. That's kind of it. So if I can answer any questions, I'll be glad to.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Wasserman?
I do have a question
Commissioner
for Commissioner Gregory. What kind of pool is at the senior center? Because normally it's those medically
Therapeutic. Okay.
pools, right?
You
Therapeutic
know?
pool.
Yeah.
So they might want a pool. I'm just.
I was kind of thinking that same thing, and I was going to talk to Mr. Wasserman about that. I heard you say that. Go on.
It is a zero depth entry pool. It is a heated pool.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I mean, it's not your normal swimming pool at the senior centers.
Yes and no.
It's more like therapeutic.
It is.
Big enough to swim in,
Right.
though.
It is a therapeutic pool. Right.
Yeah, but they do aerobics, water aerobics, and they also play, what is it, volleyball and so forth.
They want a nice swimming pool.
Okay. Yeah, my question is, you said most 2-bedroom. Will the others be 1-bedroom?
1 bedrooms.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody want to speak in favor of applicant's request? Please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Greg Johnson, and I'm going to be speaking in favor in representing my mother, Jeanette Johnson, and my brother, Gary Johnson. All 3 of us own 3 different parcels of land in Clayton County in Ellenwood. My parents moved to Clayton County over 60 years ago, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in that area and still have emotional ties to it. Unfortunately, my father passed away 9 years ago, and my mother's in assisted living right now. They put that property on the market in 2005. And as you know, was mentioned tonight, in 08, when the market fell, it really just changed the dynamics of what was going to happen in that area. So that land's been for sale for 14 years. I can stand on the front yard and see the humane animal controlled police station, a strip mall, Walmart, a industrial park that comes around behind the property that's been there over 20 years, a new warehouse that I've been told is over 750,000 square feet. I'm not real sure. So this community is very diverse in its residential and business occupancy. As we talk about retirement living, we all know that now with the baby boomers coming on and over 10,000 people a day retiring, we're seeing an unprecedented number of people that's starting to retire, and I'm part of that baby boomer group too. So it leaves your community and a lot of other communities needing adequate housing for retirees. Of the different offers or people talking to us, personally I think this is the best use of this land that I've seen from people talking to the owners. I know residents in that community would like to see more finer restaurants come into the area. And I have never been contacted by anybody, and I've talked to neighbors that have had any type of restaurant show any interest in it. But what I do know is if you come in, and I know there was another project with 124 units or something like that up the road, and if they put in 125, what Mr. Wasserman just said, that will definitely change the dynamics of this community, and I think could be building a foundation to setting that community to bringing in some of the amenities that the citizens would like. We all know retirees have a little more disposable income to go out, and you know, my interest in life has changed now to my recreation is my wife and I like to go out and eat as opposed to some other things. So I think that will play into the community in a very positive manner.
And I'm sorry, sir, I let you go a little longer. Mr. Wasserman wanted to reserve 5 minutes for a rebuttal. So basically, your time is up, sir.
Okay, thank you. I urge you to pass.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak in opposition to it?
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Wimberly. I stay at 3960 Grant Road, Ellenwood, Georgia. Just about in the heart of this whole situation. I'm former president of the Ellenwood Civic League, which used to oversee what goes on in this community. This community is about a 60-year community that was old and established. Used to be very quiet. As some people have said, the dynamics of this community has changed dramatically over the last 20 years. We have now, well, I should say that a former member of the Chamber of Commerce of Clayton County and several property members, property owners in this area planned to have this area converted to industrial a long time ago without any consent from any of the property owners or residents. That plan was squashed by the development of some of the homes and some of the influential members of the community that decided that you know, residential could go very well. The rec community has been growing tremendously. You got all the area of Stagecoach Road in the area, got over the Arlington Place on Boulder Crest, some of the other areas on the other side of Henry County. You got Grant Road, Grant Forest, you got Brookgate, and you got a bunch of trucks, you know. The bottom line is that, you know, we have asked for senior development in this area. We really need assisted living. We don't need this type. We need some type of sort of transition between the glitz and the glamour, because basically we have homes for a rating in the range of $200,000 up in the primary area, right behind Walmart and areas over in Rex and over at Stagecoach, and even in Arlington Place and all around. But then you got the South Park Industrial Development. That was the truck company that was started with this project of moving this area to industrial. Then you got, say, a truck company that slid in there unannounced and I think undercover, because there was not supposed to be any more trucks on the east side of 675, but say automatically just suddenly popped up. Then you had a lawyer that threatened to sue Clayton County and wound up getting Kaufman Tire in there. Then now you got this over 750,000 square foot, you said, sir, warehouse right in between Arlington Place and Stagecoach, which contradicts the comprehensive land use plan that was developed by Clayton County that said that this area was going to be used for a movie theater, fire department, commercial development that would help the residential development that was coming in this area. Now all of a sudden someone went against. I mean, I know that for a fact that H.H. Gregg was denied a permit to build a warehouse, but now you got a 750-foot square warehouse that's being occupied by FedEx in the same place. So I understand that, yeah, the people have a right to use their land for the purpose that they want to use it for, but you're going to put all these senior residents right in the middle of all this development. Yeah, I know that the senior centers are coming up. That's something that we need as well. but we need a softer transition between all the, like I said, glitz and glamour. You got so much stuff going on. Like the man said, this is diverse, but we need something soft, not to put a bunch of elderly citizens right in the middle of this, all these trucks and all this commercial, and then you got all these property values going down on the other side because you don't know what's going on in the area. You know, these people that have moved into this area, they don't know what's going on either because they're new. They're thinking that we're going to get something that's going to be improving. They see all the commercial development going on down the block. They think it's going up, but then you turn around and mix up everything with the trucks, and now you got this senior development that, you know, is going to be a mismatch, you know, of all the stuff that's been going on. So I have nothing against seniors. We need this. We need a senior center. We need assisted living, but we also need a softer transition between the $200,000 home, single family developments, and then I mean, we need some condos or some single level or you know, one level homes or either, you know, townhomes or something like that that would be a transition between all of the commercial and all of the trucks that's going on right now. So, I know the people need to sell their land, but we need something that's going to work better than the senior center with 100. And the other, I know my time's up, but the other development was going to use 19 acres to put 128 senior residents. Now you're going to put 128 on half that amount of space. So you take that into consideration as well.
Anybody else in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak.
Come forward.
Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. This is where you need to be listening to my speech about vision. You've got to get off the fence and trying to appeal to everybody about everything and make some hard decisions. Not everybody's going to be satisfied, but you have got to make the right decisions for all of us in Clayton County. Miss Singleton, Gregory, this is your area. You've been very controversial in that area with a lot of my neighbors that have fought against the warehousing. Now the warehousing is there, but you still want to promote a butt head against the people and what your vision is of Clayton County. And if you keep putting commercial, industrial stuff in an area where people live, it don't look good, it don't smell good, and it don't taste good. Like the man said, you're putting seniors over there in an area where there's heavy commercial traffic. These people move slow. They can't get across the street right quick. And people hardly stop at stop signs and traffic lights. They need a softer place. He's telling you the truth. But you have got to make those decisions. It ain't going to satisfy everybody, but you got to do the best for this county and the people in it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to speak? Anybody else opposition? Mr. Wasserman, you reserve 5 minutes. You can have your rebuttal.
Well, I'll just take a minute. Transitions always happen as every community develops. If there were to be a solid band of warehouses down Anvil Block, across from the Walmart, across from new restaurants, they may be not fine dining restaurants, but we see new buildings going up there that are attractive, then the whole corridor would be given up to warehouses and no other good commercial properties. And the one final thing I'll say is that very similar to warehouses, we have no impact on schools, We have very little impact on police. We are right next door to a police station, and we pay taxes. So kind of an ideal situation. And finally, the good thing is that these, the folks who live in these properties are generally what I call in our business, in our vernacular, go-goers. There's go-go, slow-go, no-go. Slow-go is assisted living. Slow-go is very expensive to live in. This property is not a slow-go site. This is for our go-goers. Many people still work. So they want the opportunity to live in a nice place, be able to afford it, and live a good life for the rest of their lives. So that's what we're about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with someone said about the density. You maybe not said the density, but this senior living will bring the density that will help us get some of the things that the people are asking for, like the restaurants and so forth. Seniors, again, they have more disposable income. We're not talking about a facility where people are, incapacitated or whatever, but we're talking about active seniors. I can't tell you again, quite often, retired educators, they want to just have their time to go stay with grandkids, visit grandkids, and they don't want the upkeep of the house and the yard anymore. And Ellenwood and that East Clayton area, we need senior housing. We don't have any. And with that, I offer a motion to approve this petition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions?
Yeah.
Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Mr. Chair, I want to approve it with these conditions, okay?
Oh, okay.
Ms. Span, you want to read them?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that you wanted to include the conditions, and I would like to clarify the number of units for Mr. Wasserman. Is it 128 or 125?
125.
Right, so the condition limits it to not more than 125 units. And what was the other condition? And the other condition was that it complied with all the site plan and development standards unless a variance is granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Those are the two conditions recommended by staff.
So, Commissioner Gregory, please amend your motion to include those.
Yes, I amend my motion to include those conditions as read by zoning administrator.
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Madeline, if you would also include the fact that the parcels are to be combined.
That's correct. This property consists of 4 parcels, and these 4 parcels are conditioned to be combined into one development site. That condition goes along with the limitation of 125 units on those combined parcels.
Okay, let's try one more time.
So
All right.
So I modified the condition. There are 2 conditions.
Okay, just read all of them
Condition, okay.
succinctly.
The following parcels are to be combined. The parcels consist of 4 parcel numbers. I can read the numbers. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4C, parcel A004. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4C, parcel A009. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4C, parcel A002. And 1, 2, 2, 3, 4C, parcel A001, all to be combined for no more than 125 senior housing units per the conceptual site plan submitted with the application. That's condition number 1. Condition number 2, the applicant must adhere to the county codes and regulations pertaining to the site development, except for where relief may be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals or other authorized agencies. Those are the 2 recommended conditions by staff.
Okay. Mr. Chair, again, I offer a motion to approve this petition with the conditions as read by the zoning administrator.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
There's
Next.
a companion case that goes with this rezoning. It's actually the future land use permit, which really could have occurred on your agenda first, but they do go hand in hand. The request agenda number is, case number is BOC 19100028. The applicant, TWG Ellenwood Anvil LLC, is requesting a future land use map amendment from Commercial Industrial District, MXI, to High Density Residential, HDR. The subject properties are located on 3067, 3079, 3109, and 3095 Anvil Block Road. They're further described as the parcel IDs on your agenda. The property consists of 10.4 acres of land with 549.3 feet of road frontage on Anvil Block Road. The staff recommendation is for approval, and the zoning advisory group recommendation was for denial.
Mr. Wasserman, you have any statements, comments?
No, except thank you. Have a great Christmas.
Well, we're not finished yet, sir. Anybody here to speak in favor of this request? Anybody in favor? Anybody opposed? Like to speak? Commissioner Gregory,
Motion to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
We say motion to approve,
With conditions.
with the same conditions as applied to, the previous zoning requests.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now have a good day. A good night, rather. Merry Christmas to you. Next.
The next agenda item, BOC 19100029, request for a conditional use permit. The applicant, Grimy Concepts LLC, is requesting a conditional use permit for a retail apparel and motorcycle repair facility. The property is located in property that's zoned General Business District. It's located at 6594 Highway 42. The parcel ID is described on your agenda. The subject property has approximately 1.04 acres with 200.1 feet of road frontage on Highway 42. Staff recommendation is for approval conditional. The conditions recommended by staff is no outdoor storage of vehicles or tires or equipment allowed on the site. No repair of vehicles or tires should be conducted outside of the building on the site. The zoning advisory group recommendations was for approval with staff conditions as well.
Is the applicant here? Is the applicant? Please come forward. Please state your name.
Ray Carson, 607 Harrelson Drive, Gwinnett County, residence.
How many minutes in rebuttal?
3.
Please make a statement if you have one.
Yeah, thank you all for being here to hear our side of what's going on. So it seems as if our landlord was not notified when the zoning law had been changed over 2018, I believe. There was the building had not been occupied, so when we moved in the building in September, she was not aware of the zoning law change at that time. Okay. Right now, for auto repair, that has been made a conditional use, whereas the previous zoning law stated that it was a general business use. And from what I understood from one of the zoning commissioners here, is that because we did not take over the building from a previous tenant, then we were not grandfathered in to the new zoning law. We do motorcycle repair and customization. There will be no, at any time, vehicles left outside of the premises. Most people don't leave motorcycles outside of a building. It's not like a vehicle or car. And we're asking that you guys would consider our request for conditional use to use the facility as such. If you look at the facility, and unfortunately I didn't bring a picture as I did on my last hearing. I'm sorry.
We have.
Oh, you got it, I'm sorry. Oh, it's up there. I didn't even look over there. I'm sorry about that. You can see that the building really can't be used for anything but what we're trying to do, any type of vehicle repair, mechanical work, that type of thing. What they have listed now for permitted uses, most of those, in my opinion, no offense, just don't apply to that type of facility. And I also don't have my glasses on, so I'm trying to see this as best as possible. But laundry mats, child care centers, things of that nature. The building was built and designed to be a repair shop, which is what we would be doing. Also, if the committee would be so kind as to grant us this, this conditional use, be greatly appreciated. And I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for him?
That building's never been occupied since it was built.
Is that right?
Building has never been occupied.
Yeah, well, all due respect, Ms. Gregory, I was told that it was occupied by Rex Tires at one particular point in time. It was for a very short period of time.
2 days.
Yes, that's what they said. It was for it was for a couple days. Yeah. But again, you know, I mean, that's what the building is built for. So and even the amenities and the some of if you're inside the building, the lighting, the fans, I mean, everything is set up to be used for mechanical purposes. So.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to speak in favor of applicant's request? Anyone want to speak in favor? Come forward. Oh, you can sit right there. Yes, sir. We'll call you back up in a minute.
I was wondering what I did with that piece of paper. Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. It seems like this business is my next door neighbor. I'm familiar with that building ever since it was built, and the construction is quite nice. But the building has never been occupied. So the owner of the land is a loser. The owner of the building is a loser. We want to make winners here. This man is willing to come into Clayton County. Across the street from him is Rex Motors. There are many motorcycle riders in Clayton County, and they all need their bikes fixed. I vote to approve this man's business. Let's get this building occupied. It's within an area that is suited for his type business with the conditional uses recommended. No outside storage. The building should be kept clean. The outside should be kept clean. His bathroom should be kept clean. Because bike riders, I know, use the bathroom. Thank you very much.
Anybody else like to speak in favor? Anyone in opposition? Anybody opposed? Commissioner Gregory.
All right, sir. Yeah. I would tell you before I make a motion, my husband tinkles with cars and he just salivates every time he passes that building.
Sir, you can go.
And he salivates every time he passes that building because it's just the perfect building for a person who tinkles with cars and stuff. But with that, I offer a motion to approve your CUP, yes, with the conditions.
Read the conditions, and let's make sure he
Two
agrees
staff
to it.
conditions. No outdoor storage of vehicles or tire or equipment on site. No repair of vehicles or tires shall be conducted outside at this site.
You agree to those conditions, sir?
I do, and thank you very much.
Let me just add to it, and just keep it clean, keep it nice looking like it is now.
Absolutely.
All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
great. Okay, again, I offer a motion to approve this petition with the conditions as read by Ms. Spann: no outdoor storage of vehicles, tires, or equipment, no repair of vehicles or tires.
All right, is there a
Shall be conducted
second?
on site.
Second.
Probably move to second. Any questions?
I just have a quick statement with the condition of making sure no outdoor tires or equipment. I think we need to do a better job of making sure that owners don't do it, not particularly to you, but I see many businesses that we do approve, and I see many vehicles sitting out there.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I just want us to make sure that we do a good job, that you not only do a good job, but we got to do our job to monitor that too.
Yes, ma'am.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
But like you said, these are motorcycles. Nobody's gonna leave
No,
a motorcycle
yeah,
outside, right?
yeah. Nobody keeps
Flatbed
motorcycles
truck
outside.
right quick.
Yeah, we'd
That's
have a
true.
problem with the customer if we left their bike outside. So yeah, but I appreciate it on behalf of of the company, and you all have a Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
You too, sir.
Next.
The final agenda item, the agenda number BOC 19110032, the applicant, Fortune Metal Midwest LLC, is requesting a conditional use permit in the heavy industrial district to allow a recycling facility of telephone cables, switching cabinets, and support equipment. The subject property is located at 6970 Jonesboro Road, Mara, Georgia, and is further described by the parcel ID number listed on your agenda, and contains approximately 9.12 acres with 1,050 feet of frontage on Jonesboro Road. Staff recommendation is for approval conditional, and the ZAG recommendation is for approval conditional as well. Staff has 4 recommended conditions. The condition is to limit the use of the property to Fortune Metal Midwest for the operations described in the letter of intent dated November 7th, 2019. Maintain the existing landscaping along the property frontage. Outside storage of parts and materials, service areas, refuse, or work areas shall be maintained in a neat and orderly manner. Outdoor storage shall be located within the rear or side yard and shall be concealed with a solid barrier in order that is not seen from adjacent properties. Those are the 4 recommended conditions.
All right, applicant, please come forward. State your name, who you represent, and
Ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, my name is Mark Matz. I'm president of Fortune Metal Midwest.
how many minutes would you like to reserve in rebuttal? if
7
needed?
and 3. 7 minutes and 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
I'm requesting the usage of this building to operate a business that services under contract the 4 largest telecommunication companies in the United States, some utilities, and healthcare companies. We're not a recycling company, or we don't consider ourselves a recycling company, but I guess if it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, well, you have some very smart people on your zoning committee, and they said the most hazardous part of our operation may involve recycling. And actually, the second last step of our operation is preparing material to go to recyclers. But what we do is we follow the tenets of the Investment Recovery Association. It's a group of purchasing executives from many different industries, manufacturers, and government around the United States, out of Spencer, Iowa. They formed in the 1980s. They have a website called invrecovery.org, investmentrecovery.org. And sometimes I'm asked, well, you must be a banker. And I said, no, we're not a banker. What we do is we're an outlet for goods that are no longer needed by those companies. The steps we go through involve security, environmental, and reducing the amount that goes to landfill, and data destruction. When an item is shipped to us, we inspect it to see if it should come to us. It could be a telecommunication cable, could be cabinets, could be computers, office equipment, tools, and supplies. If it appears to be new, brand new in the box, we call our customer and say, hey, you sent something to us that maybe we're not supposed to get. We had a 911 frame come in for the city of San Francisco, had a packing list on it, $2 million in software, $1 million in hardware. One of our forklift drivers put it on the side. We called up our customer. They were very happy to get it back. Second step is to look at it to see if it can be reused by that company. We have 2 departments within the operation. One is for testing, cutting the size, recoiling, and redistributing telephone cable to be reused. In this case, it'll be the 9-state region. That's also done with parts and supplies, which we have a database for. Company employee can go into the database and say, I need this, and hopefully save money by reusing it rather than by having to buy it new. Third step is, does it have any proprietary or personal data on it? Health data, financial data, your set-top box that you might find on your house, the printer that comes out of an office or a home. If it's a copier, it could hold up to 100 pages of the last 100 copies that were made. It could hold the customer's data. What we do is we make sure that information is removed from it, either by wiping, degaussing, or destroying it. And then it can be either reused or prepared to go to the recycler. Next step is, does it have any hazardous material in it? We don't want to send it to a recycler if it's got chemicals in it that are going to contaminate the environment. So we know what to look for. We train our people what to look for. They go in, they remove it, they make sure it goes to a Safety Clean, which is, by the way, down the street, or Veolia, or another company that specializes in that. Next step, if it can't be reused, or if it has material removed for it, is packaging it to go to a recycler. We ship to some of the recyclers here, and the first job I had after I got out of the military was a new field. It was called Environmental Health and Safety, and it was for a recycling company. People say that accidents can't be prevented. That's why they call them accidents. But what we did in 1979, we went from $650,000 in lost time accidents to $160,000 by putting in a safety program. If you look at a recycler today, cranes, shredders, railroad cars out in an open field. We use a picture on our website. Also, there's a PowerPoint I turned in. I wish I would have I brought it with me to show you some of those pictures. We've taken a recycling operation or recovery operation, we put it under roof so that people can't see what's happening from the outside. You don't have fugitive dust, you don't have noise, you've got a safer environment for the employees, you've got a secure environment. No one's going to know what we're doing on the inside of the facility after we get done repairing it, like you would with an outdoor recycling operation. The last thing we do, very popular, it's called sustainability. And our biggest client wants to go zero landfill for 2020. We hope that's the end of 2020 because we still have a long way to go. We're at 9% landfill for this company. And that's to avoid the disposal that you get from handling something that can no longer be used. So I'd ask that, that you allow us to come here and do the job that we've been doing from, 22 sites now. I mentioned I've done 70. As far as responsibility, I met with the building department, I met with fire department. They both seem capable of, if I don't do my job, of coming in there and straightening me out. My son came down here 10 years ago. These are 5-year contracts. And he met a girl down here, he got married, they had kids, they went back to Chicago area. And so when we got the contract this time, he said, Dad, it's your turn. I'm 64 years old. I'm wondering where I'm going to retire. Found a nice place over on Jonesboro Road by Lake Spizy, and who knows, when this 5-year contract's over, maybe I'll stay there. But the buck's going to stop with me on this site. So thank you for your time, and any questions?
Well, before we get going, the clock is ticking. Anybody want to speak in favor of this applicant's request? Anybody want to speak in favor? All right, seeing no one. I have a question, though. How many employees will you employ at this plant?
We've had a high of 90. It's somewhat seasonal. When our clients take a vacation, when they have holidays, they generate less used cable. Unfortunately, when there's a storm, fire, flood, mudslide, we get more cable in, and that's been happening more frequently. If our clients don't have a place for this cable to come into, then they can't repair the cable that's out there. So we tell our employees that are performing a valuable service to them.
What about the wages?
$11 an hour to start. They go as high, and these are for factory workers, of 14 and a half.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Are you just dealing with, excuse me, with commercial waste, or is it also residential?
No, we don't. With one exception, and that's if you request me to, I'll put a collection container out there for office type and computer scrap. Some communities have, because right now it's very difficult to find a home for it. But no,
Yes.
we don't take in street traffic or companies that are not under contract.
Okay.
In fact, our client, our largest client, has an office on site where they monitor our activities. If we do something wrong, it's their name on the product. And you guys are going to go looking for them probably first before you come looking for me. So they want to make sure that I'm not going to do anything it's gonna give them a bad reputation. There's a certain amount of green to this too.
Okay. Also, excuse me, where would you be storing the pre-recycled equipment?
Telephone cable on reels, very large and very heavy, and we like to store those outside. It's basically plastic jacketed cable on a spool. When we get ready to test that material, remove it from the reels, we bring it inside. The empty spools would go outside. We get a stormwater permit from the MSD or from the state. So we have to do 24-hour monitoring of the water to prove that we're not going to contaminate the groundwater. Pallets, packaging, trucks are other items that we would store outside.
Great. And also, too, if approved, there's something I would love to see here, which would be an amnesty day for the community, where they could begin to bring in computer parts or wiring and things of that nature would be beneficial to the county as well.
Well, I'm kind of glad to hear that. Our people are excited. In fact, you see our employees, they don't recognize with us as much as they do with the customers or with the community. Sometimes our customers don't like it when they put on their hats, their helmets, instead of our helmets, but that's what they do. And sure, you know, there is something that's a little bit different about our business. I guess I've already exceeded my time.
No, go ahead, finish. That was a question he asked.
When I first started doing this, we had large machinery that basically reduced the stuff to a very small size, and then we had other machinery that would try to separate plastics from metals. And we found out we couldn't get a good enough quality to sell it for reuse, not the quality you get from a person taking it apart the same way that it was put together. So we don't use machinery that vibrates and makes noises or makes dust. We use people with pneumatic tools. But also, that's why we create so many jobs.
Okay, so is anybody in opposition? Want to speak in opposition? Come forward, please.
Tanya Jean, unincorporated Clayton. So I don't know if it's really opposition, but from what I could hear, so when we talk about branding and what we want to see for Clayton County, so if this is approved, we're going to have people flying in their trash to us. And then he talked about 90 employees, and he said seasonal, which means that they may or may not get benefits. And then he also talked about storing the trash outside. So these are just questions that I have when we talk about branding and what we want to see come into Clayton County. You know, I understand that it's in a heavy industrial district, but I'm just cautious that once we approve one, then we have companies up here every day saying, okay, I want to do the same thing, which is what we seem to have in Clayton County. So I just want you all to take that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Do you want to respond to her?
Actually,
Well, he'll have his rebuttal.
Okay, he asked if he could address those
Is there
when he on his
anybody else
rebuttal.
want to speak in opposition? Please, sir, you have 3 minutes rebuttal.
Regarding our employees, we have a health and welfare package, which used to be Blue Cross. Now it's Cigna. It's 66% paid for by the company. The remainder is paid for by the employee. We've got family plan. We've got the single plan. We offer 5 to 10 days vacation, depending on if they've been there 1 year or more than 1 year. We offer 5. We used to call them sick days. Now we call them floating days, so we don't have to worry about whether someone's really sick or not. No one wants they have to bring in a doctor. So. And then we've got the 7 to 8 holidays a year. So we try to provide benefits to our company. We've got a matching 401k up to 5%. And we have opportunity. You know, I've got a couple employees working for me now. One who has a major and a couple minors, and he's working on inventory control. And we're glad to have him. He can't get a job because he made a mistake when he was younger. And I've had people say, well, they pay more over at UPS. Yeah, but I think UPS's screening policy is a little bit different than ours is. As long as we don't have a violent offender, we will employ associates that have had felonies. And a long time ago, I was taught that this was a family business, that, well, the hardest thing is getting them to come into work. So, I've had people say it's an unskilled labor. We're in a hot, cold, dusty, wet environment sometimes, doing monotonous, repetitious work. Sometimes it's heavy, can be dangerous. We've got to generate a quality product. We've got to do it without hurting anybody. To me, that takes a skill. So we try to give the employees the responsibility and the tools so that they can go out and find another job. And we have a pretty high turnover rate. And it's not because we fire anybody. We set up work teams. And if an employee is not supporting his team and making the goal that we have for bonuses, we also have a bonus program that goes anywhere from 2 weeks to 1 month a year. I'm working on Georgia's sheet right now for our other facility. If they don't make the bonus program, then their teammates are going to motivate them to do a better job. So it's not necessarily that 3 strikes you're out. It's that you're either going to change and do the job, or your partners are going to force you out. So
Thank you for
that's
that,
the way
sir.
we operate our business.
Yes, your time is
Do you
expired.
hire, I have a
Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, will you be hiring employees, citizens of Clayton County, or you bring in your people, or do they have to have a certain expertise?
No, they have to be able to pass a physical where they have the dexterity that they're not going to get hurt doing our job. There's no really set education level. We've got employees. We have a plant in McDonough. It's been there since 2009. We basically outgrown the facility. And I haven't talked a lot about the facility because this facility should be able to stand on its own. This type of the business is moving here. That part of the business is making copper rod, 5/16 rod, and they're coiling it and then drawing it out into 8 gauge, 10 gauge, and 12 gauge. A little bit different skill set. But the phone company, well, I shouldn't say phone company, they want me to, utility
Phone
business,
company.
we're bringing it with this operation. I've got about 40 employees over in McDonough. One of them the other night ended up giving him a ride because he has to use Uber. It's $18 for him to get from McDonough to Jonesboro. So if he's spending $18 each way, that's $36. That's about 25% of his salary. So if you had to compare McDonough to Morrow, you've got 4-lane street where we're on a 2-lane street. You've got public transportation. We've got a bus stop right there in Morrow. We've got a street light on both entrances. We have an entrance and an exit. There's a street light before both of them. So it's seldom that I've seen a facility that's so well suited for what we're going to do. We looked at the population type and density. The closest business, I believe, was 900 feet. The closest homeowner was 900 feet away. The closest well was 2,700 feet. So we have less possibility of being a nuisance to anybody. We've got M2 zoning layers between us.
Are you hiring Clayton County residents?
Right now we're hiring anyone that would come in. We use Abacus, it's right down the street from us, to help us source labor. After 560 hours, they become our labor.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Well, I love the fact that we are giving felons a second chance. That is a great thing. I believe we have to begin to do more of in this county. I think this is an asset to our county and where we're trying to move to. For that, I would like to approve with conditions. Can we state the conditions?
The conditions as stated, limit the use of the property to the Fortune Metal Midwest LLC for the operations described in the letter of intent dated November the 7th, 2019. Maintain existing landscaping along the property frontage. Outside storage of parts and materials, service areas, refuse, or work activity areas shall be maintained in a neat and orderly manner. Outdoor storage shall be located within the rear or side yard and shall be concealed with a solid barrier in order that it is not seen from adjacent properties.
Does that also include the trucks are loading, unloading in the rear as well?
No, only outside storage. We can go to the site plan and we can, the
There's
applicant
no
can tell us.
truck docks and there's no,
Okay.
it's all employee parking in the front.
Okay.
Do you agree with those conditions?
Oh, yes, yeah, they're very good condition. And I've learned a lot from this process. I never had to go through one of these before. Usually we're allowed an M1 warehousing, distribution, and packaging of used telecommunications equipment.
Commissioner,
Move that we approve with the conditions.
is there a second?
Second?
Probably moved and second. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Sorry you had to be last.
Yeah. Executive session, Chair. Executive session.
Can it wait till
Yes,
next
Mr.
year?
Chairman, on litigation and personnel.
All right, I make a motion to go to executive session for litigation and personnel. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous. Merry Christmas to all. Everybody be safe. Thank
Reverend
you for
Mitchell.
hanging out. All right, motion to reconvene. Is there a second? Second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous.
Would you like to take the
Ms.
vote
Reed?
together?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and Board, I have two settlement agreements. The first is a bodily injury claim that occurred on February 5th, 2019. The claimant is Tanya Schofield Johnson, Schofield, in the amount of $6,000. And we are requesting authorization for the Chief Financial Officer to amend the budget as necessary. In the event occurred on Moreland Avenue at Atlanta Avenue. The second one is a settlement in the matter of Shonika Harley versus the Clayton County Board of Commissioners et al. In the amount of $10,000, and this is an incident that occurred on February 10th, 2017, and it was at the intersection of State Route 138 at Shoreham Drive. And also asking the authorization for the Chief Financial Officer to amend the budget as necessary.
All right, is that a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on either item? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Also, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the employment contract, Mr. Charles Reed, as the Chief Staff Attorney, in the amount of the salary of $180,000 to begin the first pay period of 2020, which I don't have the exact date. Do you recall? December 30th, I think it is, which will commence on December 30th of 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
I just don't approve of the amount.
Those? Okay, it's correction on my motion, December 28th, 2019. Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1, it passes. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Franklin Warner. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, Merry Christmas.